Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV this Sunday evening / afternoon if you're in the west of Australia. If you're in the east, it is race night for round 4 of the 2024 V8 Sim Community Online Premier Series. V8SCOPS once again going from strength to strength. This year has been fantastic so far, with Aussie Online Gaming coming into takeover administration duties from Oceanic Sim Racing, and the championship has looked in great shape as it's ever been, and really fantastic racing going on throughout the season so far. But we hop across the pond to Europe for this 4th round of the championship at the Circuito de Jerez. This has certainly been a really well-received track for V8 racing since it was brought on to the iRacing service, and I'm sure many of the drivers in this series will be getting tired of it by now, because we had Logitech G Pro Invitational Series on Wednesday, we had V8 Veterans on Thursday, we had V8SCOPS Supports on Friday, all using this very track. It's popular for a reason, and it will produce some really good racing in Split 2 and Split 1 action tonight here on SimSpeed TV, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick. I'm Reese Gardner. Jay Kennedy is going to be joining me very shortly in the comms box here. He's also handling production behind the scenes, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the V8SCOPS field tackles this track, Jay. It's certainly a difficult layout, deceptively so. Looks simple enough from the air, but there's so many long flowing corners around this place, and these cars don't really play nice with that.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's a little bit deceptive is there's a tiny little bit of off camber in some of the corners as well, so it sort of throws drivers off. And you say that V8SCOPS is going from strength to strength, but I've been called in for comms tonight, so I guess it can't all be positive. Shout out to Scott Rankett, who's not feeling the best tonight, so he's going to have the night off and rest up and get better. But yeah, this circuit, as you said, it's been used quite a lot and will be used quite a lot throughout the Oz and Z community. It just feels like it's a track that is great no matter what the car. High power, low power, high downforce, low downforce. It's just a great track for whatever car that you throw at it. It just seems to provide great racing, long straights, long sweeping corners, and then some tight twistier sections, which really provide some challenges for the drivers as well.
Yeah, indeed. Notably, we are not using the Grand Prix chicane at turn 11. Alex Creville turn is going to be a long right-hand sweeper. Another one of the places where the front tyres of these cars are certainly put through it, but major overtaking opportunities around this place will be, of course, at Expo 92, the first turn, then Michelin at turn 2. You'll find that a lot of passes will be set up into turn 1 and be completed at turn 2. Sometimes Ceto Ponds at turn 5 will be a scene of passes, but it's more about the exit around that place. There's a long straight to Drysack, the turn 6 hairpin, which is notable for being the place where Jacques Villeneuve and Michael Schumacher collided to decide the 1997 Formula One World Championship. Then the next real overtaking opportunity will be at Angel Nieto at turn 9. Aspar, turn 8 is certainly difficult to get right. If you mess up the exit through there, it'll open you up to an attack into that turn 9 and 10 complex. And the last overtaking opportunity that is clear anyway around this place is turn 13 at Lorenzo. But drivers will need to be careful through turn 12 at Ferrari, Jay, because there's gravel on the outside. And it's very easy to mess up the exit through there, which will ruin your run down to that final hairpin.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was about to say, don't forget turn 12 is a surprising passing opportunity, because we saw plenty of overtakes happen at the exit of turn 12 on Friday night in V8SCOPS supports, because so many drivers ran wide, pushing just that little bit too hard to try and cover off the approach into turn 13. The other thing to watch out for, pit entry. The pit line is very, very aggressive. It's a very tight hairpin. You do have to respect it. Don't cut it. If you do cut it, find yourself an extra 40 seconds stop and hold, which is huge.
Yeah, it's a massive penalty for what seems like a very small cut to the track. So the drivers in both Split 2 and Split 1 are going to have to look out for that. Split 2 action, of course, is first. These are the drivers who were not able to get into the top 30 in pre-qualifying, and the grid will be set by the pre-qualifying order. 60% fuel restriction in this 25-lap race, which will mean one compulsory pit stop, potentially for some fuel, but definitely for tyres. They will need that out here. The tyres go through a lot at Jerez. And of course, Jay, the golden tickets, 3 of them to be exact. The top 3 from Split 2 will have the opportunity to race in Split 1 later tonight if they so choose.
Yeah, we've never seen too many drivers knock that back. I was about to say we've never seen anyone knock it back, but I think we have had it occasionally where the drivers are just completely worn out after a hectic Split 2 race where they've decided to not progress in the top split. But it's what you race for, isn't it? You want to race against the best in the best racing series, so you do try and get yourself into that, make it in automatically. You want to get those 3 spots up for grabs. The racing for those final few positions has been hectic as well. It's been great to watch throughout the series.
Indeed, Split 2 has just as much, if not more, action than Split 1 at times. Well, we're in practice at the moment, and on the top of the timesheets, Jay Brazier in the privateer entry, carrying a Rockstar Energy drink livery, which I haven't seen before on that Mustang. Certainly making use of iRacing spec maps on that one. There'll be no missing that car out on track, to say nothing of the car in front of him, the Banter Alliance car. There's so many excellent liveries out here in the V8SCOPS field. Jason Fewens was racing in the V8 Veterans on Thursday night, and he'll be competing once again in V8SCOPS. One of many drivers here with plenty of experience around this track this week.
A few names that are returning to the track as well this week. Jamie McKnight's back out on track, which is great to see. We've got Scott McKenzie in. Haven't seen him racing in the series before, so it'll be great to see him. We've had a couple of drivers pull out. So originally, Ben Morris was due to start on pole in this race, but he got the last second promotion up to Split 1. It means that Jay Brazier will be the driver starting on pole when we get into the race in 6 minutes' time.
And considering his lap times in the session, he's looking mighty quick and probably might be a shoo-in for the win if nothing goes wrong. His fastest time in practice is solid 4/10 clear of Michael Whiting's second place time, as we see the Banter Alliance Commodore making its way through the final hairpin here. The field spread is actually looking pretty tight in the top 5 if you don't count Jay Brazier. Whiting, Poynton, Angus and Borg only covered by a bit over 1/10 of a second, and Matt Morris isn't that far behind either.
We go from first back to 19th is a second. If you take Brazier out of it, second back to 19th is 6/10 of a second. So there's not much in it at all, is there? It's a very, very tight field for the most part. But key for the night is tyre management. It's tyre conservation. Fuel, sure, they've got a fuel restriction, but it's not really going to mean much. They'll put some fuel in the car when they stop for their pit stop, but they will want to make sure that their tyres will last the distance for as many laps as they try to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Less than 5 minutes remaining in the session, and talking about tyres, well, the weather is going to play a big part in that. It's actually pretty good conditions out there at the moment. Only a 24-degree track temperature, which means the tyres should be able to last a little longer. They won't overheat as easily, which is very important around this track. There's, as we mentioned, so many long flowing corners around here that are also off camber that it's very easy to put too much heat into the tyres. If we were racing in 40-degree track temperature, for example, then we'd be seeing much more conservative driving. But I think the drivers are going to have a chance to go all out here, at least in the first half of the race.
Yeah, exactly right. They will. They'll try and go as hard as they possibly can early on. And, I mean, the conditions will probably change throughout. I mean, the time of day of this race, it is early in the morning, so track will get hotter. I mean, we've just seen it get hotter as we've had the graphic up on screen. It's got a degree hotter. So at the end of the race, it may be at 30 odd degrees. So with it being a 25 lap race, we may see drivers go to like lap 15 or 16 before they decide to bring it into the pits right at the end of the fuel window.
Yeah, how much they will extend is the big question here. I mean, if you're at the front of the field, I would expect them to do that. If you're back in the field, though, tyre undercut might be the way to go. That's generally the way we've seen it go. But with these cooler temperatures, there's potential for an overcut to be an optimal strategy. It all depends how the first couple of laps go. There's plenty of space around this circuit to run off. This is a motorcycle racing track first and foremost, so it's very safe, but there's a lot of chaos that tends to happen on the first lap, and if you're caught up in an incident in the back of the field, then you might be seeing early pits from those drivers.
Exactly. I guess the way that the strategy is looking, it is open for those drivers that do get involved in early incidents, maybe pit on lap 5 or 6 due to a bit of damage early on. They're not completely out of the race. There's still a chance to come back through the field and maybe steal a top 5 or even a podium if a safety car then comes out at the right time to provide them some sort of advantage. So I think that the format for tonight is really good in that it will open up opportunities for drivers that may think completely out of the race.
Indeed, just a couple of minutes remaining. Mark Poynton, one of the drivers who's shown a lot of pace here in Split 2. And you'll see the lines here on board that they're taking. Generally, the track limits around this place, as long as you're keeping 2 tyres on those blue and white curbs, you are good. But there's a lot of space beyond that is available to use, and sometimes that can be very tempting for the drivers. That's another thing we need to consider for tonight is the incident limit. There's a lot of potential for drivers to be taking too many off tracks on their way around this place. And if that's combined with a couple of instances of contact in the first couple of laps, then there will likely be a few drivers in danger of being awarded a drive-through penalty by iRacing for exceeding the incident limit.
That we saw on Friday night in V8SCOPS that the incident limit did come into play for a few drivers. 25 incidents is the limit. You get 1 if you run wide of the circuit, 2 if you lose control, and 4 if you hit another car. Or another car hits you. So keeping those incidents in hand for later in the race can be strategic as well, especially if you're needing to get a little bit extra defensive coming towards the end of the race. So this will be interesting to see how that is put to use from the drivers as well. Only 45 seconds before we get into race time though. Race 1 of the weekend getting underway. Don't forget as well, wanting to have the best second screen experience while watching the broadcast, over to grip.com with 3 eyes. You can find the best live timing out there. It is very, very cool.
Yeah, fantastic live timing software from Grip, and they've been partnering with us this year, providing all sorts of fantastic information. So let's see then, with just a few seconds to go in the session, if anyone crosses the line and improves late on. This is Justin Wallace, who's 3rd place right now, and I get the feeling that, yeah, he's going to take the opportunity to practice a pit entry. You see him running a little bit wide of the white line there. If you cross that white line, then you will get the penalty. for cutting the inside of pit entry. Well, that's the checkered flag here in warm-up for V8SCOPS Split 2, Round 4 at the Circuito de Jerez. And starting on pole position for the race will be Jay Brazier in the 057. Michael Whiting is going to start alongside him on the front row, and that will be a very hotly contested front row indeed in this 30-car field that is taking to tonight's racing. Tim Mulford is going to start in third spot alongside Jamie Dyke, a very competitive second row there. Tim Mulford will certainly be wanting to get up into split one and help out his Phoenix Racing Team teammates, such as Dylan Pereira and Rehan Leonage. Jamie Dyke, of course, for Fishy Motorsports, got a lot of pace under him. It'll be interesting to see what he can do, as well as James Chastanerf in the Banter Alliance 427, starting alongside another Fishy car in the form of Michael Angus. Justin Wallace for Race on Oz is going to start in 7th alongside Sho Kanatake, who has signed up for Phoenix Racing Team this year. Brian Borg is going to start in 9th place alongside Race on Oz's Tyler Blackburn.
Go back to 11th position with David Nash in the 801 sim racing car in the 801. But him will be Alan Davison in the sim racing entry. There we go back to Troy Stone Street for WKMP Sim Sports. Jason Fewers in the Banter Alliance racing car in 14th. Mark Poynton and then Damien Cairns on row number 8. Row 9 will be Chris Miller and Stephen Banks, Pacific Esports Racing. Then we go back to Vincent Skilbeck and Troy Maguire, rounding out the top 20.
21st will be David Coleman, another Fishy Motorsports car, starting out at 21st alongside Neuro Powers, Matt Morris. Alexander Newton will start in 23rd alongside another Phoenix Racing Team car of Steve Vella. And then we get Matthew Scholes starting for 801 Sim Racing alongside Dean Powell, the teammate to Alexander Newton there, with Dean Reedett for Riot Sim Racing alongside Phase 4 Motorsports Scott McKenzie. And the final row of the field will be Blake Fitzpatrick starting alongside Jamie McKnight, who will be able to take the start there from that final 30th place on the grid. He'll have a great view of whatever may or may not happen in the first turn here at Jerez. Standing start as per usual in all V8SCOPS events, minus of course the GTC support category on Friday nights, which does a rolling start. But in these cars, it's all about putting the power down. 600 plus horsepower produced by the 5-litre V8 engines of these cars, and it goes equally through both rear wheels. It's a lock differential on these cars, which makes them certainly one of the more eventful cars to drive on the iRacing service. Who gets the best launch is the big question, and I'm certainly thinking that at least a few of the drivers are going to be experiencing a bit too much wheel spin off this start line here. It's a cool track, sort of overcast conditions, and we're getting ready for 25 laps of racing with one compulsory pit stop. V8SCOPS Split 2 is go, and Jay Brazier gets a pretty good start there. Slightly better start from Michael Whiting. Unfortunately, Tim Mulford wasn't able to get the run he needed. He's fallen down to 4th place. Could be 5th as Shasty gets a good run around the outside of him as the field try their best to make room for each other in the opening turns. Chastanerf is hit wide by Mulford in turn 2, and he's across the track there. Looks like some extra contact involved as the field came through. Other than that, things looking like they're starting to sort themselves out, at least if you're in the front to mid-pack, but one driver going off there, Sho Kanatake, big damage to the front left, not an ideal start to this race, and the same goes for Matt Scholes as well, falling to the back of the order, 4 places down for him, but Sho Kanatake and James Chastanerf, the biggest losers out of the first couple of corners. Shasty's down 15 places, Kanatake down 22 spots.
Chastain got straightened out, but I think he's got a little bit of wheel damage from that as well. It straightened his car up, but I think it bent the car. Matt Morris getting passed around the outside by Damien Cairns here. That's a very, very nice move from Cairns. Can he hold it? He's got the inside here and get it done.
Absolutely will. It's one of those places, turn 8, where you can really get it done, but oh, Morris tried to come back with the over-under. Not enough space between the corners. Cairns having trouble putting the power down, but it seems like Morris is having a bit more trouble keeping the pace up. Now Morris is going to fall under pressure from Stephen Banks. Look a bit further forward as the front of the field makes their way through the final corner of this race. Troy Stone Street trying to chase down the cars in front of him. We're on board with David Nash right now, who has Justin Wallace for very close company, and not to mention Brian Borg right behind as well. Here comes the pass, set up out of turn 1, coming into turn 2. The Race on Oz Commodore has to make way for the 801 car, but coming back in turns 3 and 4, Wallace is going to hold it side by side. They almost bang doors, and Brian Borg takes advantage, will fling up the inside of Justin Wallace coming into Ceto Ponds, but he's gone a bit too deep. Wallace has just enough room to try and make something work here, but he can't, and that allows Tyler Blackburn now a run into the dry sack hairpin. The Race on Oz teammates will have to give each other room here.
Shows the nature of this track, doesn't it? You don't get the overtake done, you're going to be penalised because someone will come and take that spot away from you because you weren't able to get on through. Race controller reviewing all of the incidents on lap 1 as well, so a couple of things for the race control to review. We'll review them in a second too. Once this race has settled down, the front 3 have started to break a little bit of a margin. Brazier, Whiting and Dyke, they've broken away from Tim Mulford and
Yeah, and they're certainly matching each other, aren't they, this top 3? Jay Brazier not able to get away from Michael Whiting. Brazier had the pace in practice, but it seems like race pace not quite his strongest suit here. We get a replay of what happened to James Chastanerf here. He was vaulting it round the outside of Mulford, but just a little bit of, looks like netcode contact potentially, and then hit straight by the Race on Oz car there. Sho Kanatake was trying to get it done here, but there was a big coming together right as he was coming through, and unfortunately that sends him into the Armco barrier. The compulsory pit window is open, meanwhile. Drivers can come in any time from the end of the second lap. I don't see that anyone has decided to go for an ultra early pit stop here.
No, there's no point because probably going to be just short on fuel if you do pit now, and the other issue is your tyres aren't going to last 23 laps around this track. They will just burn up way too quickly. So I think lap 8 to 10 will probably be the earliest. We'll see people go as late as 17, maybe 18 if they're very, very good on fuel. Most will pit around about lap 13, 14, I would guess. Ryan Borg still holding off Justin Wallace, and just also want to say big thank you to Sudspeed for jumping on board as our new replay sponsor as part of this series as well.
Yeah, indeed. Big move there. Getting Sudspeed in as one of our replay sponsors here on SimSpeed TV. We have a very good relationship with the guys at Sudspeed, run by a great crew, and you never know, we might be seeing another Sudspeed replay soon if this battle between Justin Wallace and Brian Borg erupts into something worse. Let's see if Wallace will be able to get the power down here. He was fighting the car through turn 11. Gets a good run through turn 12, but Borg will go defensive into the final turn here. Maybe goes a little bit deep, and Wallace will straighten the car out, put the power down. Does he have enough in him for a move into turn 1?
Ryan Borg's always very, very good at this defensive driving. He knows where to position the car, but I think he's decided there's no point. Justin Wallace has got some pace at the moment. Might be best to let him go and maybe follow him around for a bit. Get a bit of pace back in the car. Nice move from Justin Wallace. He set that up at the final corner. He's got it done at the end of turn 2.
Yeah, beautiful stuff from Justin Wallace, and beautiful stuff from Brian Borg as well. He gave up the position without costing himself too much time. Tyler Blackburn almost fancied a move, but wasn't close enough. Borg was able to get the momentum going here. Looks like Jamie McKnight is wasting no time making his way up through the field, just making the move on Steve Vella to move up into the top 25.
Around the outside as well. I think around the outside is not as ineffective as it is at other circuits. This track, just the nature of the camber in the road, the nature of the surface of the track as well, means that there is opportunity to go around the outside at a lot of corners that you may not normally expect. Blake Fitzpatrick tries to defend off from a recovering James Chastanerf. He's got himself back up to 23rd, but car still looks a bit beaten, broken and battered.
Yeah, it looks like Chastity's actually lost out a bit further from when we last saw him, so he's on an even greater recovery drive than we expected. Let's see if the car is still under him and he's able to keep up the pace. He's struggling a bit with exits, it seems. Maybe the tyres have been burning up a little bit too much already in this race. Further forward, that's a bit of a big dive there from Vincent Skillbeck. Alexander Newton can't turn in for the final hairpin without getting some contact, and oh dear, something's gone wrong for Fitzpatrick there. I think maybe there might have been a messed up move between him and Chastanerf there.
Got a slow down penalty as well, so I'm not sure exactly what happened there. Is he going to go into the pits and run? No, I don't know what's happened. He's ended up with a slowdown penalty. He's only just cleared, but I can't work out where he's got that penalty from.
Yeah, a bit odd there. Maybe he picked it up coming through turn 12. The kink, it's very easy to cut the inside of that corner. We'll find out on our second Suit Speed replay here. Chastanerf chasing, and in goes Fitzpatrick. No, he was wide there at turn 12. What happened to him here? Was he hit from behind? He was, and oh, dearie me, that's not ideal. Yeah, still can't quite work out where Fitzpatrick got that slowdown penalty, though. Maybe he cut the inside of turn 9 or 10.
I believe you can get a slowdown penalty if you run it too wide through the final corner and try and set up a run for qualifying. So that may be where he's just run into that zone that is no-go for qualifying runs. Did get the slowdown there. I'm sure someone in the YouTube chat will tell us where he got that slowdown or how he got it. His train starting to form here for 10th. Troy Stone Street back to Matt Morris. It's 2 seconds.
Yeah, looks like Matt Morris is having a little bit of trouble in the midst of all of that pack. You know what? This is a very tight battle indeed for that last position in the top 10. Already on the headlight flash is Chris Funky Miller, who of course finished in second place here in the V8 Veterans race on Thursday night, securing himself third place in the championship for season 19. Well, he's got a lot of practice under his belt, and I gotta say, the drivers who raced in V8 Vets are doing quite well here at the moment. Oh, that's a big incident there for the bright green Commodore of Troy Maguire indeed. Maguire, certainly one of the drivers we've seen great pace from throughout the many years he's been competing in V8SCOPS, but occasionally he does have big wobbles like that.
Very easy to do at that section of the track as well, as we just saw Matt Scholes come in and make his pit stop. Going to be able to make 20 laps, but we'll see if he can make 20 to the end. Did look a bit beaten and busted up before, so I'm sure that is probably the reason as to why he's come into the pits. You guys are doing a very, very good job of just racing together, aren't they? They're all just working in a line. Nobody's got a huge advantage over anyone. And also, Rex, guess what? I'm being told I was right. Now, I don't get that very often, so I'm going to claim that. Slowdown penalty is from running wide at turn 13.
Yeah, righto. So that's something they'll have to look out for here if they get forced wide at the final corner. Maguire almost did that to Miller there, and it looks like it has psyched out Chris Miller a little bit. Maguire could be trying for lucky 13th place here. Could it be an over-under coming in out of the first turn? Well, he was looking. He was really looking, wasn't he? But Miller evidently making that fuchsia-coloured Mustang the widest in Andalusia right now.
Very, very fun battle this one. It looks like a few of the guys are just broken up a little bit. This now between Miller and Maguire is the closest fight on the track. And just behind them, Matt Morris is dropping a little bit from the back of the group as well. He's making a couple of unforced errors as well. I suspect that he's thinking about where he can make moves and maybe making a couple of errors. This is the best spot to make a move though with Maguire looking very aggressive, but he's just backed out of it again.
Yeah, he's not quite close enough to secure the move, but Miller continuing to run wide a little on the exits of the corners. It grants Maguire a little advantage. Remember, these two are stablemates at Fishy Motorsports, so I think that's part of the reason why we're not seeing Maguire really commit to diving up the inside. He doesn't want to take Miller out of what's a pretty good points-paying position right now.
Yeah, you don't want to hit your teammate, but also the other thing could be that he's struggling a little bit with tyres and getting them to function properly after that big slide he had, so he's a bit concerned that he wouldn't be able to pull it up. Michael Whiting just had a big look there at the race lead too for Jay Brazier, who ran a little bit wide into the final corner. So don't expect these top three just to race on and do nothing. It's going to be on all the way to the end. Matt Morris's blink is in the pits.
Right, first driver to take a scheduled pit stop here. And looking at the entries tab in Sim, he hasn't picked up a black flag for cutting pit entry, which is good to see. Never know. We might see more than a few drivers make that unfortunate mistake tonight,
Sure
though. But they'll all be aware of it. So Matt Morris's pit stop is complete. Both he and Matt Scholes have made their way into the pits so far. My apologies. Matthew Scholes was the first driver to take a pit stop after 5 laps there. So 11.4 seconds for Morris, around about 13 seconds for Matt Scholes, down in 30th and last. So keep those numbers in mind. Round about 10 seconds is the time taken to change tyres in these cars, and you have to change a minimum of 2, but all the drivers would be better suited changing all 4 tyres, because changing all 4 takes the same amount of time as it does to change just 2 tyres, and why wouldn't you take that extra option to have fully fresh rubber on your car?
Also is a car that doesn't respond very well when it's got 2 worn and 2 very good tyres, so you do want to take all 4 just for that reason as well. So when we see anyone come into the pits now, my thinking is you want to pit later rather than earlier, but the undercut is strong in these cars as well, isn't it? So it's a real catch-22. The track is getting hotter, it is warming up as we're going along, but the other side of that is, do you want to do something different from the guys that are around you and maybe get a safety car to fall in your favour later on? It's a really tough decision to make.
Yeah, there is great potential for safety cars. Of course, if you're new to V8SCOPS competition, there is live race control and manual safety cars in this series. The no escape rule active as Chastaneuf brings his way into the pits. If you have a big incident out on track and you can't make it back to the pits under your own power, you have to request a tow back to pits from race control. And if you're in a dangerous spot, or what would be classed as a dangerous spot in the real world, they will call the safety car and then you can tow back to the pits. So that's a big strategy option that's opened up for the drivers in series like this.
A couple of messages from race controllers: a license plate penalty for James Chastner for contact with Blake Fitzpatrick down at the final corner on lap 4. Also at the exact same corner on the exact same lap, there's a redress that's just come in from Vincent Skilbeck to Alex Newton for contact.
Yeah, we did see that happen. Skilbeck going for a big dive and unfortunately locking up on the way in. It seems like there's a few drivers who are struggling with stability coming into the final corner. Michael Whiting was one of them a couple of laps ago. He did have that go at Jay Brazier for the race leaders. Hello, the 205 of Michael Angus, I think defending from David Nash. Yes.
I think he was also trying to potentially put Tim Mulford off, but it was more the defence from Nash than the attack to Mulford. And it's a big opportunity to make an overtake, but it's also a big opportunity to force your opponent into an error. And a lot of the time in this car, forcing your opponent into an error is more of a chance of getting an overtake done than actually making a legitimate move. It's one of those cars that's almost the opposite of every other in the iRacing service, and we know that from all sorts of reasons, but one of them is forcing your opponent into a mistake is a viable passing opportunity.
Yeah, it is, especially in these cars where it's so easy to make a mistake. You know, these things are big, lumbering 1.5-ton beasts that have 600 plus horsepower going through the rear wheels. They're certainly not cars that are set up to be, weapons like a GT3 car, for example. If a GT3 car is I suppose, a battle axe and an open wheel car is a katana, this thing's a sledgehammer.
Definitely not like anything else. If you put them all the cars and line them up side by side, that song, One of These Things Is Not Like the Other, starts playing for sure. It's not like any other car. It's a real challenge to drive, and if you have driven it at a relatively high level, it is very, very rewarding if you do get it right. Angus and Mulford.
Mulford and Nash.
Jeez, I'm doing a good job tonight. This is why I don't commentate, Chris.
No worries. They both get into the pits without incident. No black flag triggered, so we'll see more what exactly this does as Damien Cairns and Troy Maguire also come into the lane. These guys are pitting round about the middle phase of the race. So they'll try and split it into 2 equal stints, or as close to 2 equal stints as they can get. They will have to look after their tyres a little more in the last half of the race, but a safety car might very well help them to preserve whatever grip those tyres might have. And when it comes to drop-off in these cars, you can run about 10 to 15 laps around a conventional circuit before the tyres start to lose pace, and it is largely just pace that they lose. The drivers report that the actual grip doesn't tend to fall off for a while. It's just a case of the tyres not being able to extract as much time around the circuit after that 10 or 15 laps. So the guys pitting now, right on the money.
They'll have to do that a little bit longer on the track conditions. Up to 27 degrees, it's 25 at the race start, so the pink line is going up and going up. By the end of the race, I'm sure we'll see it right at the top, as it looks like Michael Whiting is in the pits at front of the field.
Right, so from second place, he'll be looking for an undercut on Jay Brazier. And I was looking at Brazier as we have yet more drivers making their way into the lane. Angus, Borg, Stone Street, and Miller. Brazier was driving very hard. Out of Cito Pons, the long left-hander onto the back straight, he was sliding the car a couple of laps ago. So I think there's potential that the tyres will be past their best in the 057 now. And for drivers like Whiting, who's just completed his pit stop, 12 seconds is the pit box time. It's going to be a big advantage for him. Whiting will come out.
Traffic.
Yeah, not quite clear air, but he's got fresh tyres, so it shouldn't take him too long to get past the 24 of Scott McKenzie.
Like getting held up anything could be enough for Jay Brazier to maintain the lead of the race when he comes in for his pit stop. So Whiting is now through. But how much time did he lose? Was it half a second? Was it 3/4 of a second? Was it more? Have a look at this.
Oh no. Oh, 3 wide is bad news for David Nash. He's gotten a black flag there in the pits. I think he cut pit entry. Shokan Atake, meanwhile, facing a chance to make up a couple more places here with that big adventure that the 3 in front of them had through turn 1.
Nash is still stop, still stop, still stop. A painful penalty. It'll turn into a second stop and hold. He's finished his pit service, and we'll get a little look at why he got that penalty in just a moment. But comes Steve Valla to make the move. Oh, he's hit the curb on the inside, and around he goes.
Oh no. Oh, careful on the re-entry right at the apex of the hairpin. Fortunately there was space as our top 2 have made their way into the pit lane. Brazier, Dyke, Wallace, Dawson and Banks all in the lane here. Blackburn and Poynton will continue on a little longer. Big question is, what will Michael Whiting gain from this? Dyke is actually with a faster stop than Brazier, and Whiting is going to come through to take the race lead. the effective race lead at the very least.
Yeah, so Jerez dropped back to effective third. He's a long way back too. He's what?
Yeah.
3 seconds back.
14-second stop for him.
It's a longer stop by a long way. So I'm guessing leading the race has used a little bit more fuel. They had to put a little bit more in. The other guys would have saved a little bit, but even still, that's surprising. So I'm not sure what's happened there. It looks like got another driver with a black flag. That's Blake Fitzpatrick. And this is how you get that penalty race. We've watched it all night on Friday night. We're going to watch it again. Here comes David Nash. And he's not getting the penalty for that.
Oh,
he's getting the penalty for speeding in pit lane.
Right, okay. We thought it would have been because he cut the inside of the corner, but evidently he entered the pits a little bit too hot. You know, to lose the least amount of time, you'd ideally want to just get on the accelerator and speed up a little bit out of that hairpin before you slow down to take the limiter line. But yeah, sometimes you can overshoot as a result. Something that I noticed in V8 Vets and also in supports on Friday was that there we go. That's the issue there for the Pacific Esports car of Blake Fitzpatrick. You go over that white line, that's where the penalty is triggered. But yeah, for David Nash, it looks like it was just speeding into pits. There's quite a few drivers who'll get on the limiter right out of that hairpin. It will cost them a few tenths to a full second, but at the very least, it ensures that you escape the penalty. Mark Poynton has jumped out of the pit lane and will come out behind this battle here with Brian Borg trying to chase down Justin Wallace and Michael Angus. Meanwhile, Chris Miller involved in a big battle with Stoney, Troy Stone Street. At the front of the pack is Matt Morris, who completed his pit stop 6 laps ago. These guys are on fresher tyres than him, so there's potential for Matt Morris to fall down the order in the late stages, but for now, he's still in the prime phase of his tyres.
Yep, but that will change very, very quickly, and he'll be on the defence on old tyres in comparison to these guys. Stone Street's got a great exit out of that corner as well, so may get the move done into the hairpin. Close enough, yes, he's going to do it with those better tyres. Morris is unable to hold on from that one. Will he lose 2? Oh, big slide there from Stone Street. Here comes Troy Maguire to steal a spot potentially.
Yeah, Maguire, he was struggling to get past Miller in the early stages, and looks like the same is true now. Alan Dawson stands a chance to make up a couple of spots here. Dawson has 2 laps fresher tyres than Maguire, but Mark Poynton at the back of the pack has the freshest tyres of them all. He's only just come out of the pits.
We've got a couple of drivers yet to pit. One of them is Tyler Blackburn, who's just driven in. Dave Coleman still yet to pit, and Dean Powell, who is coming in now. So not many drivers left to make their compulsory pit stop.
Yeah, I think a grand
messy.
total of 1. Yeah, this is a messy pack, isn't it? And it's such a struggle if you're a driver right in the midst of all of this. You know, you want to be able to make moves, but there's every chance that if you make a mistake doing that, or if your rival decides, oh, I'll try and hold on to the position, they'll just open you up to an attack from everyone behind. And it's so hard to put the power down coming out of turn 1. Funky Miller trying on Matt Morris, almost makes contact with the rear. Troy Stone Street is driving away from this pack now. These guys just tripping over each other a little, it seems.
Yep, tripping over each other for sure, as that's a huge slide from Matt Morris. He holds onto it, but only just.
Yeah, oh god, and then Cito Ponds, one of the highest load corners on the entire circuit, it manages to nail the exit. If you straighten it out early enough, you'll get a good advantage down the back straight. Then Miller still trying to psych him out here. Tried to look up the inside, but it seems like Matt Morris is holding fast at the moment. He is a bit of a cork in the bottle in this pack, though, considering the pace that Stone Street has unlocked there in clear air.
He's already pulled nearly 3/4 of a second the front of the group here, so he's broken a little bit of a margin. And Mark Poynton's now also joined the back of this group, so he's closed up a little bit over the last little while. Remember, he was one of the last to pit out of this group, so he has a big advantage, especially when you compare that to Morris. The lane comes David Coleman on the at the end of lap 15, so 10 laps to go. We're now leaders across the line. Much racing left in this one, and it's been absolutely heated the whole way through.
Yeah, very tight battling, no matter where you are in the field. I mean, first and foremost is this battle for 10th position. It's incredible stuff. Troy Stonestreet moving up into 9th as a result of the pit stop there for David Coleman. It looks like it's been completed without issue. 13 seconds through the pit box there for David Coleman. He'll come out in 17th spot, 19th spot now as Skillbeck and Newton make their way through at the first turn. Now becomes the question, can Troy Maguire hold on to this? He hasn't been able to keep up with Chris Miller, who's got Matt Morris to deal with, and now from behind, the double attack from Alan Dawson and Mark Poynton and the two Mustangs behind. This is going to get intense here at the hairpin. Slight mistake from Morris there. That'll give extra momentum to Miller. It seems like Maguire's nailed the run down the straight. And it doesn't look like any big passes being made, but Miller has yet another look at Morris for 10th.
Notice too that they've closed back up on Stone Street as well, so he might have just burnt the tyres up a little bit too much with that big sideways moment he had on that previous lap. They've all come back to him a bit, so interesting to see that that gap. Look, the slide again, he's really struggling with that rear grip. He's just doing too much to the tyres and he will burn them up. Sure, he's got a 4-lap advantage over Morris, but that would almost be negated by the amount of sliding he's doing.
Yeah, he's got to take care not to overheat the tyres in these cars, especially at Jerez. There's a smooth track with many long flowing corners, so if your tyres overheat, you're going to lose a lot of time. Mark Poynton now trying to find his way further into this pack, 14th place, and he could be looking at potential top 10 if things go his way in these last 8 laps or so. Just got to be gentle on the throttle. Miller is, he's poking the nose out at every opportunity as Miller in the 666, but it seems like Matt Morris is way too focused on trying to catch back up to Stone Street right now. The pack is well and truly together again. And look, there's a Pacific Esports Racing car there of, I think that's Stephen Banks, who is pretty much on the same strategy as all these guys. With all of these drivers slowing each other up, Banks could be a part of this soon.
He was half a second faster than Poynton on that last lap, so yeah, it's only a couple of laps away from getting there. One thing I've just been calculating as well while we've been watching this battle, Jamie Dyke has one of the shortest pit stops out of everyone, currently in second. He may need to save a dash of fuel to make it home, so one thing to keep an eye on before we get to the end of the race. Has he got enough fuel? I'm sure we'll get that answered as we get closer. We'll watch that as well. Keep one eye on Jamie Dyke in second position, whether he's got enough fuel to make it home or not.
Yeah, he's maintaining the gap at about half a second to Michael Whiting, and looking further down the field, I'm noticing that Tim Mulford in 4th had a quicker pit stop than Dyke. The likes of Justin Wallace, Troy Stonestreet and Matt Morrison at the head of this fight, they also had the same pit stop time as Jamie Dyke, so there could be multiple drivers in danger of running out of fuel at the end of this one.
The guys that have been following probably have a bit more of an advantage, but Dyke, he was 3rd in the line for that first bit, and now he's doing a bit of fuel saving in behind Michael Whiting in 2nd, so we'll be sure to keep one eye on that as we get closer with 8 laps to go. Troy Maguire still holding on. Is Jamie McKnight's around at the final corner? What's happened to him?
That's a very awkward spot there for Jamie McKnight. He found his way up to 20th spot, and it was one of the greatest improvements in the whole field, but unfortunately, yeah, all of that hard work's been negated for him thanks to contact. Next suitspeed.com replay here. Pass being made and a bit too deep for the 99 of Dean Powell, and that turns McKnight around at the exit of the corner. I'm sure race control will be looking hard at that one.
As well, they've got one very, very good eye on what's going on in this field. Actually seen a lot of incidents tonight that they've let go. Been no action from it. There's been a fair bit going on that we've missed as well. We thought we've caught a lot of it. Just looking at the incident sheet. Wow, there's been lots going on. Here comes Miller and Maguire. Miller's off.
Oh no.
Oh.
Avoids getting into the tyre bundles, but that's a devastating mistake there from Chris Miller. The double right of turns 9 and 10. It's always difficult to keep the weight transfer on the front tyres for that. And Miller's going straight for the pits, it seems. Let's see what happened to him here. Just making his way in. He ran wide at turn 9. Yeah, no contact. And then at turn 10, it just seems like massive understeer for Chris Miller. And he has come into the pits again. I think maybe burnt up the tyres too much.
It's a track where your tyres just don't like doing anything. They really struggle to perform, and I think Miller's found that the tyres just don't want to do what he wants them to do. Decided to park the car as well.
Yeah.
He's just done enough of this track. He's decided he's finished for the night. Not score points, which he was on for a good result, but it's all gone. This has been an interesting battle too, Reece. It was on before the pit stops. It died down for a bit after the pit stops, and they've all suddenly just closed up together again.
Yeah, Michael Angus, Brian Borg and Tyler Blackburn, the battle for 6th place. You see the battle for 4th up ahead, Tim Mulford and Justin Wallace going at it with each other. Let's see what Brian Borg can do here. He's on the same strategy as Michael Angus. They pitted at the same time. Tyler Blackburn has 3 laps fresher tyres, so you would think the advantage is with Blackburn, but he hasn't been able to gain all that much on Borg and Angus. Borg was the fastest car in the pack on the last lap, and even then, not by much, only a 10th.
As you said, this is the battle for 4th, just ahead of those guys, and Justin Wallace is closing in on Tim Mulford, who pitted 2 laps earlier. So lots of action still out on track, and the guys in the lead. Jamie Dykes dropped off. He's dropped off from the back of Michael Whiting, who was only half a second behind. He's now a full second back. But Jay Brazier is not able to go with these guys. He's dropped off his pace as well. But as you can see, they've got a big margin back. 4th and 5th. Justin Wallace, he's going to try that over-under move that we've seen be successful to get a move done at the hairpin.
Oh yeah, Mulford losing momentum on the exit here, and it's going to be around the outside move here for Justin Wallace. Does Mulford let him have it? No, he doesn't. Goes straight defensive to the inside, and he'll keep that momentum up on the exit, but you can see that Justin Wallace smells blood in the water, and he's ready to bite.
These guys fight too hard, though. It'll bring that secondary group of Angus, Borg, Blackburn up with them, so they've got to be careful not to fight too hard. Fight, but don't fight too hard. One is clear, maybe work together, pull a bit of a margin, and then you can fight hard at the end.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, Matt Morris, he's been on an absolute barnstormer of a race. He's got the most positions gained in the entire field, up 12, and despite being on older tyres, he's still looking really good at the front of that pack. Sorry, Michael Angus is the driver that we should be focusing on there. I completely got the cars confused. Morris still, as I said, trying his best to hold on to places here, but yeah, it seems like he's not quite able to keep up with Troy Stonestreet for the time being. Michael Angus is the driver we should be focusing on in that fight, coming up to the battle between Mulford and Wallace. He's still holding on versus Brian Borg, but you see that now Tyler Blackburn's starting to make up places here.
He's making big gains. He was 10th faster than Angus on that previous lap. He was nearly half a second faster than his teammate Justin Wallace ahead of him on that previous lap. So he's very, very quick. Is Tyler Blackburn. Of course, that's a big advantage, pitting last out of everyone in this group. One thing I'm a little surprised about, sorry to cut you off, Reece, David Coleman was the last to pit out of everyone. Coleman's usually one that'll either pit first or pit last, isn't he? He's one of those ones that'll do the alternate strategy from everyone else. So don't be surprised if David Coleman gains some time right at the end of this race. Closing it on Jason Fewens at a fairly rapid rate and has 6 lap better tyres.
Yeah, got about 4 seconds to make up there on Jason Fewens and might be able to get into the top 15 after starting outside the top 20. It'd be a great gain for Coleman if that works out. Coming up to 4 laps to go here, and it's still Michael Whiting at the very front of this field. Defensive once again for Tim Mulford, Justin Wallace might do the over-under at the exit of the hairpin, but he wasn't able to get the exit cleared. So that's more momentum that is gained there. Morris has lost a position to Troy Maguire now. Maguire's gotten past him, and it looks like Alan Dawson's going to try and do the same thing. Matt Morris down to 11th, could be 12th here. How hard will he defend this coming into turn 1? A bit later on the brakes, but Alan Dawson knows how to negotiate this over under. Beautiful job there to put himself up the inside. Is he going to go for the dive into turn 2? Morris tries to cover him. They both go for a slide. Mark Poynton almost stood a chance of getting through there. But man, Matt Morris, pretty steadfast defence.
Morris just was able to hold on. He just got the power down early enough out of turn 1 to hold onto that position, but I don't think he's going to be able to hold onto it for too much longer. Wallace and Mulford still go at it. It's been a great battle. Great battles the whole way through the field. It's been great to watch. I've just seen a warning come through for Damien Cantor moving under brakes in relation to his battle with Dean Powell back in the field.
Yeah, indeed. Damien Cairns trying to make his way past Sho Kanatake as Alan Dawson's had a problem.
No.
Oh dear, looks like he's found the wall somewhere there. Dawson was right in the battle for 10th spot. Could have been a fantastic run for him, but it's all gone wrong. It looks like it's happened at the hairpin. Has he locked up on the way in? Oh, looks like Morris had a slide ahead and Dawson tried to get it done. Morris coming into him. Oh no!
Matt Morris will probably be feeling the wrath of race control from that one too, because that's a bit naughty what Morris did there. Sure, there was a little bit of room, but he's just come over on a strange angle, made fairly heavy contact, and that will effectively end his race there of Alan Dawson. Now remember what I said before about if Mulford and Wallace fight too hard, they're going to bring another pack in? It's not might, they have.
They have indeed. Michael Angus, Brian Borg and Tyler Blackburn trailing these two cars now, as Dawson will come straight into the pit lane to get that damage repaired in his contact with Matt Morris. And man, Justin Wallace is trying everything he can to get past Mulford here. Sit in the slipstream a little bit. Have a look at that. Michael Angus is going for the slipstream too. Not only to gain a bit of extra time down the straight, but also to defend against Borg. Just seems like Wallace has hit a metaphorical brick wall there. He's not quite able to get the gains he needs to get past Mulford. This is going to be a really good finish for Mulford if he can pull this off. Yeah, Mulford may have started in third and lost one position, but if he can hold on to a top 4 facing off against this kind of attack, he should be very proud of how he's done.
Yeah, it's, I mean, you look at the comparison in tyre wear or tyre usage from Mulford in comparison to Blackburn at the back. There's 4 laps difference. He's now on 12-lap-old tyres, so he's done more laps on this stint of tyres than he did on the first set of tyres. Still got 3, make that 2 laps to go when he crosses the line. So Mulford's going to have to defend hard. The top 3 have broken a fairly substantial margin. It'll take a fair bit for those guys to lose out from here, but the battle for 4th on back, which is for big championship points, well and truly heated.
So can Tim Mulford keep Justin Wallace behind? Can Angus Borg and Blackburn take advantage of any side-by-side between these two? I think Wallace was made very aware of how much these guys are catching up, and he's backed off a little bit in his fight against Mulford, but now he stands a chance here. Oh no, he's caught a bit too much grass on the inside of Cito Ponds, and other race control news as this battle's going on. Dean Powell has been given a black flag for contact with Jamie McKnight back on lap 17, and it's a real shame to see, but well, we saw that incident on the Sud Speed replay, and I think pretty justified, if I'm honest. We'll keep our eyes peeled on this battle. It actually looks like Tyler Blackburn's dropping off the back of this fight.
He's
he was a
pushing
bit
too hard.
slow. Yeah.
Wondering as well whether we're not 100% on the fuel data, so has he put enough fuel in and just realised, hey, I might be a bit short, I'm going to have to save for this last lap. Speaking of, white flag is out for our leaders. We'll watch these guys through this corner though, Because this is going to be aggressive from Mulford. This is huge defense.
Yeah, he manages to keep it nice and tight at the apex, but Justin Wallace gets a slightly better run out of the corner. This isn't the battle for the lead, it's the battle for fourth, but it's way more intense. Defensive again from Mulford into turn one for the final time here. Will Justin Wallace be able to get the over-under? No. Mulford keeps parking it on the apex in all the right spots. Now Wallace has to think about a defense as Borg tries around the outside of Michael Angus.
Angus had a huge slide under brakes and there's contact between he and Borg. Holds onto it.
Oh, yeah, they both hold on to it. That's a free position there for Tyler Blackburn. And now Mulford and Wallace are free to fight. That little coming together between the three behind has opened it up for them. They can afford to go for it here. Mulford will be defensive coming into Drysack. What will Justin Wallace do? He's later on the brakes. He's much more aggressive. Mulford will stick to the inside. Pace lost on the mid-corner for Justin Wallace, but he'll sweep through to finally take fourth position. Or will he? How hard is Mulford going to fight this? It's all going on behind as well. Angus, Borg and Blackburn trying to fight over sixth place. This is ridiculous fighting on the final lap. And it's not even for the lead. Speaking of the lead, as Mulford continues to defend, retakes fourth, Michael Whiting is going to hold on for victory here, it looks like. Jamie Dyke was gaining on him in the last couple of laps, but the checkered flag is out, and it's going to be Fishy Motorsports who takes it. Michael Whiting wins split 2. Who will ultimately finish in fourth, though? Mulford defensive again from Justin Wallace. He parks it on the apex again. Wallace isn't able to get the run, and Mulford will, in the fight of a lifetime, take fourth place.
Wow, what a battle that was all the way to the end. Great fight between those guys, fourth back to eighth. They used their elbows, but they didn't use their noses to push anyone out of the way, which is good to see. They fought hard, they fought fairly fair. Sure, race control. We'll just have a little look over it, but there won't be much more to it. Actually, they've already reviewed the contact between Borg and Angus and said play on, which is great to see.
Yeah, indeed. Looked like a racing incident, if anything. Still positions to work out here. David Nash and Matt Scholes, yep. Battle of the teammates indeed. Nash trying to recover from his penalty for an unsafe pit entry earlier. Will Scholes be able to get past him into 26th place? Nash is down 15 spots. You can't help but think it could have been a much better night for him if everything went his way. But he will hold on here versus his teammate for that 26th place. And they will cross the line together. Good to see. Well, ultimately, that's going to conclude the racing. Bit of an interesting run into turn one there.
I guess it's okay to hit your teammate after the checkered flag, just not before.
Yeah, I suppose so. We'll gain another couple of incidents, though, until the timer clears. But, man, Michael Whiting should be very happy with how he's performed here tonight. Nailed the pit stop. Was able to take advantage of a longer stop for Jay Brazier, who started on pole. So Whiting, Dyke and Brazier will all have the chance to race in split 1 in just a few moments' time. They are your top 3 for V8SCOPS split 2 here at the Circuito de Jerez. Tim Mulford, what a battle it was with Justin Wallace right to the end. Borg, Angus and Blackburn also got involved, and they'll end up finishing 6th, 7th and 8th for their troubles. Troy Maguire up 11 spots to finish in 9th. Congratulations on him for that. And Troy Stonestreet will get into the top 10 after starting 13th.
Yeah, from there we go back to Matt Morris, Mark Poynton and Stephen Banks, who had a battle all the way to the end. Jason Fewens and David Coleman, they had some issues as well, but they all did get over the line in the end, only 30 seconds back. Skillbeck, Newton, we did see have to redress the position there earlier on, did Newton. He did get back past Skillbeck, and Skillbeck got the position in the end, finished 16th. Joe Kenatake with damage from incident on lap 1, finishes in 18th. Damien Cairns and James Chasanoff, they'll have a look back at this and probably want to forget it. Finish 19th and 20th.
21st place was Dean Reedett we didn't give him much airtime, but he did make up quite a few positions from 27th to 21st. Scott McKenzie also up 6 spots there. Steve Vella gains 1 to finish in 23rd. Jamie McKnight, he will gain on his starting position, but you can't help but think it could have been better, especially due to the contact with Dean Powell, who finishes, looks like, 12 seconds behind. Nash and Skulls were the last finishers on the lead lap. Blake Fitzpatrick a lap down. Unfortunately, we see Alan Dawson and Chris Miller retire from the race. Unfortunate for them. Could have been way better, but due to penalties, overshooting, overheating tyres, and damage, it all came to a head for them. Well, we're going to say goodbye to most of the field in Split 2, but we'll likely see our top 3 again in a few moments, because the Split 1 action is going to be starting very soon here on SimSpeed TV. It's going to be a magnificent night of racing in one of the premier series for the V8 Sim community here on iRacing. You'll be able to see it all live here on SimSpeed TV. We're going to step aside briefly, and we will come back with Split 1 action very, very soon.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
You're watching SimSpeed TV, round 4 of V8SCOPS for 2024. We've already seen fantastic split 2 action here at the Circuito de Jerez, and now we gear things up for split 1. This is going to be a difficult sequence of events. Not only do we have a hotter track, but it's also incredibly dusty as well. It'll be interesting to see how that affects qualifying and the 2 races to come here. I'm Reese Gardner, Jay Kennedy with me in the comms box and producing behind the scenes. And Jay, we have a bit of an announcement to make for those who aren't already aware. Unfortunately, this round had to be moved due to other commitments here at SimSpeed. So there's some alterations that have been made here to the V8SCOPS calendar.
Yeah, so this round is still the same weekend it was originally planned to be, but it was due to be round 5. But yeah, a few other changes. We've had to push a couple of races back a couple of weekends and shuffle the schedule around a little bit. Winton's moved back a weekend. Sonoma's moved from where it was supposed to be last round. It is now slotted into round 8. The TBA, or the to be confirmed, has been changed to a driver's choice. We'll be putting up some options for drivers to pick, and the drivers in the series will all get to have a choice on what track we race for round 9. And the biggest change is that we're moving the Endurance Cup to the end of the season to finish off the season with the Bathurst 1000.
Yeah, that's going to be a really fun time indeed. Bathurst will conclude the 2024 V8SCOPS season in the biggest sim race of the year for the Australia-New Zealand community. Really love that. And can't wait to have the Enduro Cup come around once more, a little bit later than it usually comes around, but I think that'll just increase the anticipation for ourselves here at SimSpeed and for the drivers too. Speaking of the drivers, we should probably think about how they stand coming into this round. It's certainly been a good job for Lobs Esports. James Scott currently leading the championship and Dylan Rudd in 3rd. Gaps for the top 3, a little bit spaced out, but Maloney for Trans-Tasman Racing having a fantastic last couple of rounds, rocketing up to 2nd in the standings. He's only got 20-something points over Dylan Rudd. Rehan Leonage also strong as he usually is, 4th place in the championship coming into round 4.
One driver that we won't see for a little while in the series, though, unfortunately, is Sebastian Flock. He's had to sell all his sim racing gear. He's moving states, so good luck to Seb. He's moved, but yeah, we won't see Seb behind the wheels in this series or any series for a little while, which is a little bit sad, but of course Seb will be back. Hopefully by the time we get around to Enduros, he might be back in the car again.
Yeah, certainly hope that is the case. Looks like Madison Down is not present here in 10th spot, neither is Brady Myers. So majority of Trans-Tasman focusing on Pro Invitational, as is their right, but Maloney is there in the session at the moment, so he will have a chance to hold on to 2nd place versus that Lobs Esports duo of Scott and Rudd. Let's take another look at this circuit, Jay. From the air, it looks like a simple enough circuit, built in the mid-1980s. It was actually twistier back then, but nowadays, despite a simpler layout, it's certainly got a few pitfalls placed around it, to say nothing of the off-camber turns throughout a lot of the track. You got to try and keep up mid-corner speed, and you need a car that has good rotation around here.
Yeah, exactly right. And as I said before, the slight off-camber nature in a few of the corners does catch a few drivers out. It means that you can actually go around the outside in a few places as well, with the way the camber does play an impact in the behavior around this track. It is a relatively flat circuit. There's a little bit of elevation down at turn 5, but other than that, it is relatively flat for the most part. But the camber does play an impact where it does enable a little bit of too wide action.
Yeah, indeed. Too wide is going to be difficult, though, because at least in the early stages here, and you never know, maybe by the end of qualifying, the track will be a little bit cleaner, but it is quite dirty right now. We noticed on our load into the session that the wind speed was quite high, 22 k's an hour from the north, which means there's a lot of dust around the circuit at the moment. And look at the track temperature too, 46 degrees Celsius. The front tires will be cooking.
Yep, it's going to be difficult to get much performance out of the tires. You get lots of heat into your tires nice and quick, but to get much performance. So qualifying is going to be very, very crucial. How much that track temperature changes throughout the qualifying groups as well. Remembering we do group qualifying where 20 drivers in Group 1 and then Group 2 will be the top 15 in pre-qual. So sometimes we see the way that the track temperature evolves. Some drivers in Group 2 Group 1, the first group out, might sneak up a couple of positions just the way that the track has evolved.
Yeah, indeed. It's 10 past 3 in the afternoon in Sim, so there's a chance that the track will get cooler, but I would think that the advantage is with the Group 1 drivers. And I'll correct something I said a little earlier. I've been informed that Brady Myers is indeed in the session. I don't know how I missed him. And Madison Down does plan to jump into the server a little bit later, so it will be a 3-pronged Trans-Tasman attack. We'll make it 4 prongs with Kurt Stenberg also in the session as well. Stenny, of course, ever present in the number 47, one of the most experienced drivers in V8SCOPS, and we'll check out the action here in the practice session before we get into our 2-stage qualifying here. No surprise to see that James Scott is on top, but Jacob O'Reilly with a really good run here in the Vermilion esports machine. Vermilion, of course, making big news in the last month or so, going on a massive expansion program. They've got in excess of 40 drivers now, and they've split into 2 sub-teams, Vermilion SimSports and Vermilion esports, their premier team, so to speak. So I'm impressed to see that the 222 of Jacob O'Reilly is up so far here.
Another driver that's been on the move is Thomas Freeman. He's now back to privateer again, so he's already moved away from 9.5 SimSports and back to looking after himself. So lots of moves and shakes throughout the Oz and Z sim racing community, as always. So it's not a surprise to see that we've got lots of changes. We always seem to in the Oz and Z community.
Yeah, indeed. You could write an encyclopedia of all of the happenings that have gone on in the last 10 years, let alone the last 15 years. I think that'd be an interesting little project. Writing a book about.
You can look after that one.
Yeah, I will look after that one, but I think it'd be a bit of a niche offering. I'd probably have to jack up the price, economics, supply versus demand. But all jesting aside, I do think it'd be an interesting little project to, just take an overall look at how the Oz NZ sim racing community has evolved over time. We haven't got much left in the practice session. We're waiting on better lap times from the likes of Brady Myers, who's down in 18th place right now, but O'Reilly still holding on to 5th in the practice session. Looks like Vermilion Esports have come here ready to fight. We can't forget Adam Briggs as well for Synergy Sim Racing. He's always been a factor in the top 10, top 5 of V8SCOPS, and he's currently 3rd right now. Tom Freer also doing very well for Synergy. Synergy, they've been through a lot in the last few years. They had a big influx of great talent come in with the likes of James Scott and Jared Filsell. Then Scott and Filsell left to form Lobs Esports, and it was thought that Synergy might have trouble regaining their form, but tell you what, they've certainly come to Jerez ready to fight as usual.
One thing I've heard from within the team is they've remembered why they started racing in the first place, which was to have fun and hang out and race with their mates, and they're sort of taking that focus back to having fun again, which I think sometimes you lose within the fight to get yourself towards the pointy end of fields, with whether it be this series or other series. You always forget that at the end of the day you want to have fun while you're doing it, so they've taken that focus back, which I think is really, really positive for those guys.
Yeah, I think there's really something to be said for that, and it's something that I've experienced personally. I've lost myself in the never-ending fight for competitiveness and bringing your way up through competitive fields like V8 SCOPS. But sometimes when you strip things back and you just race for fun, don't worry too much about always being at the front all the time, sometimes you find that you actually get faster because you're having more fun. You're not hyper-focusing on all the little things. Sometimes drivers can get a kick out of that, sometimes they'll get pace out of that, but for others it doesn't really work like that. So I think it's good that Synergy have brought the focus back.
See it in their results as well. Sure, they don't have James Scott, Jared Filsell and others that they used to have within the team to give them those great results, but they've still got a very, very solid group of drivers. Jordan Ross has just gone P3 in the session. Well, the timing was not showing things right there, but so there's drivers that are really, really strong and have great pace within the team. So they probably just need to find 1%, 2% to get themselves back into winning positions. But as far as the team culture is concerned, I don't think they care too much about whether they get them. As long as they have a good time, have a laugh, have some fun with their friends, they probably will be happy with getting P2s, P3s, whatever they finish, as long as they finish the race and keep it clean.
Yeah, exactly, and they do well to keep clean with those fantastic liveries that they're running. Don't want to see too many scratches on those. WK and PE Sim Sports, meanwhile, Blake Warboys, the de facto lead driver of the team. We saw his counterparts such as Troy Stonestreet competing in Split 2. Warboys, of course, running a slightly different livery, still part of the same team. Warboys has shown that he's got what it takes to fight up at the front in V8 SCOPS as well. He was the NTE Series champion last year in this very number 63 Mustang, so he's got a lot to fight for.
We've got a couple of debutants in top split tonight. William Brown for Phoenix Sim Racing. He will make his debut tonight in the 196. That makes around 500 different drivers now that have raced the top split race in V8 SCOPS. Somehow I'm on that list, but they let anyone in back in those days.
Yeah, well, that was Enduros, right? That would have been like one of the first Bathurst 1000s we ran.
Yeah, I ran 2 Bathurst 1000s and finished both, so I'm proud of that. But we won't talk about who my teammate was.
You know, I've been half wondering if I should have a go at Enduros at some point. You know, I talk enough about what it takes to be competitive in V8 SCOPS. I've been here on the comms team since the very start, but I've never actually made a V8 SCOPS start myself. So who knows? Maybe this year I'll try and get a team together and we can have a run at Bathurst potentially. We'll have to wait and see on that though. Bo Albert certainly will be a factor as usual. Racing for Evolution Racing Team, the team that he started V8 SCOPS competition with. Spent time with Altus Esports and then as a privateer. Now he's back with ERT for V8 SCOPS and Pro Invitational, and doing quite well once again at Jerez. The track is clearing up. I'm not seeing as much dust out there as there was at the very start of practice, so we're starting to see the times come down here. Zach Rattray White up to P2 in the Vermilion Esports 17, and Albert has been making steady improvements throughout the session too.
You can really see a defined racing line, can't you? So you can see the dusty track and then the smooth rubbered in circuit. So I think that may play an impact when it comes to qualifying, because it's going to be dusty offline. If you get yourself out of sequence, you're going to have to drive off the circuit through the dust, and you're going to find yourself having dirty tyres. So we may see drivers be a little bit more switched on, staying within sequence of everyone else and not getting themselves off the sequence of the majority of the field. The reason we're watching Brady Myers here is this lap looks very, very good from him.
Yeah, let's see what Brady Myers can do coming out of the final corner, whether or not this is going to be good enough to elevate himself above 22nd place. 1 minute 39.8. He'll go to the top at the end of the session.
He's showing his pace right at the end, and joining right on cue. He said he was going to join right at the end of the session. He's here, Madison Downs. So we've got our full 35 drivers out on track.
Three-time champion of this series is Madison Downs, so anytime you see him enter the racetrack, you know that something special is coming. He's one of the most experienced and most successful drivers in Australian sim racing, and let's see what he can do in qualifying. Not much time to prepare in practice, but he's had plenty of experience around this place running Pro Invitational earlier in the week, so I'd expect him to be right on the pace. It's qualifying time, everybody, and a brief explainer if you're new to this format. It's a 35-minute session. It will be split into two 15-minute sessions with a 5-minute break in the middle. Group 1 is going to be all of the drivers who qualified from positions 16 to 32 in pre-qualifying, plus the split 2 podium if they decide to make their way into the session. And then positions 1 to 15 in pre-qualifying will come out in the last 15-minute session, and that will decide the grid for the first of our 2 races here tonight.
It's like all of the drivers did qualify over from Split 2 have decided to come and join us, so we've got all 35 eligible drivers in the field for tonight's racing, which is what we want to see everyone out there. First driver to attempt a lap looks like it's going to be Brady Myers. So, sorry, Brady Baldwin, the other Brady, who's been struggling a little bit the last week and a half, week or so, because he's got all new equipment, and we've both been there, Reese. I'm sure everyone that is watching has been there. Will know that it is always difficult when you change equipment just to find that little bit that you used to have. Something just isn't quite the same as what you used to have, and it always takes that little bit extra to find it and work it out.
Yeah, exactly right. Brady Baldwin, he's obviously known more for his dirt racing exploits. He is the league owner and lead administrator for Oceanic Dirt Sim Events. We broadcast their Australian Sprint Car Championship every other Thursday night. In fact, we'll be broadcasting the next round of that this Thursday coming. But Baldwin has, over the last year or so, been steadily ramping up his asphalt racing commitments, and V8s are one of them. He's going to be the first driver to start a qualifying lap here for round 4 of V8SCOPS at Jerez. Down into turn 1 we come, on board with Baldwin. Slight uphill run through the first turn. You need to try and keep the corner speed up and not get too much wheel spin on the exit. You need a short shoot, short run into turn 2, and now you really need to put the power down. Cut the inside of these left-handers as much as you can, widen the entry to the second. You need to maintain mid-corner speed and then get over to driver's left for the entry into Cito Ponds. This long, never-ending right-hander coming onto the back straight. Go over a crest on the exit, it's slightly off camber. So hard to keep the speed up through there.
It's very, very difficult to keep the speed up, but a very, very good job of making sure that he maintained the pace throughout that corner. Tegman is doing a nice job at the moment, so if he can continue this lap, might be able to put in a very, very nice banker. Driver to keep an eye on as well. Looks like Tyson... who was it that came up on my timing and said that he'd done a very, very good sector? I can't quite see who it was now, but Jake Maloney is on a good lap as well, so we'll keep an eye on him.
Indeed. Keep an eye on Brady Baldwin, though, through the last half of this lap. Turns 9 and 10 at Angel Nieto. And then turn 11. We skip the Grand Prix chicane there. It is a long sweeper, and Baldwin, I think, took a little bit too much grass on the inside there. That might have invalidated his lap, but he'll commit to the very end of this first qualifying lap down into Lorenzo, the final corner of this circuit. A hairpin where traction on the exit is essential. And to the line he will come. Is this a valid first lap for Baldwin? It is not, unfortunately. Could have been a 1 minute 40.5, which would have been very competitive in this field. We'll still be waiting for the next few drivers to make their way to the end of the lap here. Tyson Broad is the first driver to put a time on the board, and it's eclipsed by David Kirby and Will Brown, with Lachlan Capel then going to the top. This is fantastic here, seeing the times come down. Ewan Baker and Andre Youssef to second and third. Dylan O'Shea puts his first lap in. Maloney goes to the top. 1 minute 40.0 is the time to beat. And Michael Whiting, the winner of Split 2, doing very well for himself there, I have to say. 1 minute 40.4, not a bad start.
A good start of the segment of qualifying there. And yeah, Maloney, the sector time is very, very nice. We will see someone probably in the mid 39s, I reckon, will probably be about where we'll see the pace, but it's such a difficult track to get pace out of when they're in when it's in this sort of conditions. That track temp, 46 degrees track temp.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to make tyres last for a 5 kilometre lap?
Yeah, that's very tough. You'd have to do a very slow outlap to try and preserve the heat in the tyres. That's basically all you can do at this stage. And the wind speed has picked up a little bit. It's up to 23 k's an hour from the north, so that'll likely be blowing ever more dust onto the track here.
Temp's gone up since the session started as well. We've only been in for 5 minutes, but it's already gone up a degree.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of cars running out on track at the moment. They'll be generating heat and putting it into the tarmac themselves. So things will likely get even more difficult for the drivers as the session wears on. It's something that we've noticed over the last few years, especially since dynamic track was brought in for iRacing, and the new iRacing weather system has complicated things further. But the basic gist of it is, in a session like this, your first lap is generally your best. That's when the track is at its best. So if you haven't nailed this first lap, like Brady Baldwin and Paul Young, etc., Johnstone and Dyke as well, not getting valid first laps in, they're going to have ever more trouble trying to get a fast time on the board. The track won't be up to spec.
And Group 2, they have a small disadvantage in that the track is not as good as the start of the session. But then they also get a little bit of an advantage because there's no cars running on the track. The track can cool, so they've got pros and cons of that. Watch Damian Johnson, remembering now he is out of sequence from everyone else. So at this stage, he will have a bit of a positive because he will have everyone else getting out of his way. Oh! Someone's just ran into Jamie Dyke there.
Oh yeah, and William Brown has gathered damage. It looks like he and Dyke came together on the exit of turn 1. Brown was trying to stay out of the way, but he entered the track just as Dyke was coming through. So unfortunate runnings there for the Phoenix Racing Team 196. You will have to continue. We'll get our Suit Speed replay of that, and you see the slow exit here from pit lane. He knows that there's cars coming up here that have started laps. He's going to let Whiting go, and then Jamie Dyke will come through here. Brown will go onto the track, and unfortunately, Dyke was coming up on him.
When he had already moved out of the way, he probably should have just stopped and waited, but I think we've all done that at some point. Unfortunate for Dyke, unfortunate for Brown. Brown may get a penalty for that as well. Yeah, Jamie Dyke didn't get a lap time in his first run. And Damian Johnson on this lap has had so much trouble with lap traffic and whether these timing, where he's getting them and them getting out of the way at the last possible second. Surprised he's going to get a decent lap in here. It may not be as good as he would like, but at least he's going to get something on the board.
All right, then Damian Johnston into the final corner here. Johnston has had plenty of success in V8SCOPS. He's always been knocking on the door of great results. Across the line he will come to set a 1 minute 40.6, and that'll put him solidly into the top 10 so far, but it's immediately eclipsed by Paul Young, who goes 100th of a second faster.
Between those guys on that lap there, so Young into 10th. There's only, in this session, 2 drivers yet to register a lap time. Jamie Dyke and Brady Baldwin. Baldwin's about to start a lap with the group of all of the other drivers that did get lap times in. Lachlan Capel on the lap at the moment. I'm not seeing any improvements in sectors on this flying lap from anyone in this group. So it's a real struggle for everyone out there. The only driver that might improve might be Ewan Baker, who's P3, maybe on something here.
Maybe he will. Ewan Baker obviously has made waves for his exploits in touring cars and GT racing, and moving into V8s for the time being for Synergy Sim Racing. He's shown that he has fantastic pace indeed. Let's see what he can do in the final sector of the circuit. 1 minute 40.2, the time to beat. Tyson Broad, meanwhile, not making many improvements. There's an improvement from Brady Baldwin. Gets into the top 10 on his first valid lap. Doing a bit better than I was expecting there. Baker out of the final corner then. Will he be able to improve on that 1 minute 40.2? Elevate himself further into the top 3. Capel improves to a 40.0. Baker, unfortunately... oh, hang on a minute. Has he improved there? He has. Okay, it hasn't improved his position. Yeah.
Also, Jake Maloney did a session best sector 2, but then still drove it into the pit, so he mustn't have had that first sector hooked up. So I saw Lachlan Capel improved on his time, but couldn't improve his position. He's now only 0.03 of a second away from provisional pole.
It's very close at the front of this field. Joe Mahoney for Race on Oz. He also competes in the V8 support category on Friday nights, and he started on pole position for the V8s. Improves by 0.3.
We were giving him flashbacks, so in that last race when we were talking about the pit lane entry and cutting the line, he received a huge penalty in that race.
Oh yeah, he certainly did. That's what ultimately killed his run for the win in V8s, but he's putting himself in good stead in V8SCOPS with that big improvement up to 8th spot. Gearing up for a run out of the final corner here is Jamie Dyke, one of the few drivers in this session, in fact the only driver in this group that doesn't have a time on the board yet. He's got clear air ahead of him, he's widening the entry into turn 1. Let's see what he can do.
And just coming through from race control, William Brown will start from pit lane with a penalty. It's fairly obvious that he was going to get a penalty, fairly obvious what the penalty would be, so unfortunate for Brown, his first race in the series. He'll have to start it from the pits, but I'm sure he's going to be okay with that. High chance of a safety car, remembering 2 races for the night as well, so even if he doesn't get off to the best goings in race 1, he's still got race 2 to make some gains, as well as this lap from Jamie Dyke. Not too bad in regards to sector times.
Yeah, he's certainly pushing. I saw that slide he had on the exit of Cito Ponds just a few moments ago. He's pushing. He wants to get this lap over and done with as soon as possible, so he has a chance to improve in the final minute or so. But remember, the session will end at 20 minutes remaining in qualifying. We need time to get everyone back into the pit lane and then allow Group 1 to come out. Because this is a heat session in the sim, qualifying has a hard cut to the end. So once the time hits 0 on the clock, you won't be able to finish a lap. So Group 1 brought out a couple of minutes earlier to make up for that. So Jamie Dyke, this is likely his last opportunity to put a time on the board here, sliding a little out of Lorenzo, doesn't quite maximize the exit out of the corner either. I don't think he's too happy with how that lap ended, and it's going to be a 1 minute 41.5 that he puts on the board, and that will be dead last.
Will be disappointed, but positive is he's done a lap, and at least he's got a time on the board. He'll push on for another run. I think he's just going to do a slow lap here, and then he'll come back and push on for another heater. He's got enough fuel in the car. Just noticing Jake Maloney, again, looking very, very good on the sector times, but track temperature might be just forcing a bit too much for these guys. He's struggling a little bit.
Yeah, all of these long corners, they build up heat in the tyres, and you see the temperature is starting to stabilize, but it is still rising a little. It remains at 46 degrees, but that's still a little too hot for these tyres to really be working. Little bit of a clip of the grass there. I don't think that's enough to trigger an off track. Maloney will keep it nice and smooth through turns 11 and 12. Try and bring it back over for the run into Lorenzo. I think he just got away with that track limits there on the exit of turn 12. Out of the final corner he'll come. Will this be the first qualifying lap we see in the 1 minute 39s? Doesn't look like it. Well, maybe 1 minute 40.02. 2. That's a gain of 0.02 of a second for the number 29. So he'll secure his position at the front so far, but probably not the improvement he was looking for.
Ruben's about to start a lap. He will going for it from here. Down. A lot of these drivers actually are going to start runs, have done a semi-fast lap and then going for a real push lap. Just Amy Machado's finished his run. Paul Young has finished his, as well as Ben Morris. Those guys were almost matching their personal best, but just slightly slower. So Maloney, the only driver that's crossed the line over the last little while, has improved on his lap time.
Indeed. Well, let's see what Lachlan Cable can do in the final sector here. Man, he was running very wide out of turn 10. Hopefully that lap remains valid. He's pushing hard through turn 11. Turn 12, it comes and goes quickly. But Cable decides that that lap is not worth committing to the end of, and into the pits he will come. So no further improvements from Cable. The last car to start a lap was the 3:07 of David Kirby for Fishy Motorsports. So now we'll be seeing the last run of times coming here. Ewan Baker, 1 minute 40.2, not quite enough to improve on third. Phase 4 Motorsports, Paul Young, meanwhile, he's had some great runs in V8SCOPS in the past. Hasn't quite been able to keep it together in this qualifying session. He'll come into the pits. Same for Andre Youssef, who's another one of the drivers to go to the Vermilion Esports team. Dylan O'Shea for 9.5. Coming out of the final corner. Will there be any improvement here for the number 19? One of the more aggressive racers in this category. It will be an improvement. He gets up to 15th, puts Jay Brazier and Tyson Broad down one position each. Michael Whiting will stay in 7th place for the time being, but we'll keep our eyes peeled on the last few cars here. Mahoney coming to the end of a lap here. It doesn't look like there's an improvement there, and it looks like pretty much everyone else has decided to abandon their final runs here and bring it back into the pits.
It's a good little session, that one, with Maloney finishing in the end half a tenth away from Lachlan Capel with that good lap right at the end, and Capel couldn't quite match it. Baker third, Youssef in fourth, and Kurt Stenberg in fifth, but we'll see the top 15 out on track in just a moment. All of these guys at the back will probably be feeling a little bit more disappointed, but I must say the standout for me there, Michael Whiting, from his exploits in Split 2. He's going to start 7th, or finish 7th out of that group. That's a very, very good job.
Yeah, and he'll be hoping that he can hold on to a position in the top 10, maybe top 15 once everyone else sets their times. Brilliant performances in the first group of qualifying, but now we get into Group 2, Qualifying 2. This is everyone who pre-qualified in the top 15, and the queue is already here at the exit of pit lane. Leading the charge will be Jake O'Reilly in the Vermilion Esports 222, and we're just waiting on the call here from Race Control. Should be coming in just a few seconds' time. The green flag for Q2. We'll see how much these guys really have in terms of pace. The Proven Energy Porsche Mission R safety car, I think, is coming to the end of the lap here, and the green flag has flown. Away we go then. Jacob O'Reilly and Zach Rattray White, the Vermilion Esports duo, leading the charge out of pit lane.
Thanks again to Proven Energy for their support of the series and sponsoring the safety car. Mission R. Underrated car on the iRacing service, I think.
Yeah, indeed. It's certainly one of the more unique cars to be introduced to iRacing. But now it is time to turn back to internal combustion and see what these fire-breathing V8 monsters can do around the Circuito de Jerez. Looks like committing to slow-ish outlaps here. Pretty much everyone at the moment. They don't want to be putting too much heat into these tyres by the time they come round to start their laps.
It's the other side of that too is you don't want to run offline and end up putting too much dirt on your tyres either. So make sure you stay within the tram tracks that have been worked into the circuit from all of the drivers in that Group 1 of qualifying. See what Zach Rattray White can do. He comes up to start this first flying lap in just a moment. Say it.
Yeah.
Second group, these first few drivers have all pulled out a huge margin, but have a look at these guys. They've all bunched up together. I don't know if this is on purpose or it's just how it's naturally happened, but they're all bunched up together.
Yeah, this is a significant group indeed. We've got Warboys in the midst of all of that. Yeah, the Lobs esports cars, the TTR machines as well. These are going to be the big heavy hitters. Vermilion Esports, of course, looking in from the outside. Rattray White is going to start his first qualifying lap here. I noticed he was running beyond the white lines before he hit the curb on the entry to turn 1. I don't know if that counts as an off-track around here, but yeah, he's certainly pushing the limits.
And run a little bit wider than the white line at a lot of the corners at this track. So, yeah, the track limits are a lot more liberal than what we're used to from iRacing 10 years ago, which we're still trying to get our head around a little bit sometimes, aren't we, Reese? It's like, oh, they've gone past the white line, but you're allowed that. You compare it to the likes of Alton Park, where you touch the white line and you seem to get penalised in qualifying. This track is very, very liberal. Lots of drivers punching in very, very fast sector times as well. Remember, you can check all of the times out over at grip.com with 3 eyes. Keep up to date with all the timing. It is also saved in our YouTube chat and Facebook chat, so check them out. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, indeed. Great live timing from Grip. Rattray White making his way towards the end of the lap now, just coming out of turn 10, and this lap is looking pretty good. It's been nice and stable. Exactly what you want to see from an initial lap in qualifying, but he did cut the inside of turn 12 a bit there, and he's going to abandon that lap. No first lap from Rattray White, so now it turns to Jake O'Reilly, who was in the top 5 in practice. What kind of time will he put on the board in the 222? Coming up to the end now, and it's looking like it'll be the first lap in the 39s. No, it won't. 140.8. Third place for the time being. Bo Albert gets up to P2 with a 40.051. Here come the Synergy cars. Tom Freer will get to second. My goodness, 1,000th of a second separating Tom Freer from Jake Maloney. But the championship leader, James Scott, is about to come to the end of his first lap. I'm interested to see what kind of times he'll be capable of.
Session best first sector for James Scott. Second best second sector
my God.
for Madison Down. So these two are going to be the pace setters, but that's wow, what a lap. Rudd getting in there too. Madison Down will slot into third. So James Scott, Dylan Rudd, Madison Down, Ray and Leonage. But what a lap time that is from James Scott. 39.699. What a lap.
Yeah, that's crazy pace from James Scott, and I think a big part of that was he was part of that group that was running extra slow, preserving as much grip as he could in the tyres before going for it on the initial lap. So 11 minutes and 50 seconds will remain in the session, and we're still waiting on times from Rattray White, Hobson, who's on screen at the moment, as well as Blake Warboys, who's somewhere else on the track. This will be interesting. Rattray White going super slow and allowing everyone else to make their way around. Warboys has been out there for 2 laps. It looks like he tried to set a lap, but it didn't end up counting, and the same goes for Brenton Hobson as well.
Yeah, Hobson off track was right near the end, so he missed out on that one. See, everyone goes in the second run, but that is an incredibly good lap time from James Scott. Said that Madison Down was the next best. Take that first sector away and they're almost identical. Whoa, it's Brady Myers, that's a bit wide.
Oh, yeah. That's certainly an unsafe entry into pit lane, but of course it's not going to count for much in qualifying. Want to avoid doing that in the race though. So the track falls mostly silent as everyone comes into pit lane, but there is one car out there who we will be focusing on for the next couple of minutes, and it is Zach Rattray White, off sequence from everyone else, and look at how slow he's going here at the end of the lap. Just trying to keep the tyres as cool as possible. You'd probably be wanting to put ice packs on those tyres to preserve some pace. Late apex out of Lorenzo, and Rattray White will have his run towards the top.
He can do. Oh, he's got decent pace. He was very, very quick in pre-qualifying, quick in practice. So he's now got to put it all together in the race session. Qualifying, of course, first, but the session sets up your race, doesn't it? I mean, sure, it's cliche to say that, but it really does, because it's such a difficult track to make overtakes, and it is an easier track to defend than some others. Tyre conservation is going to be important as well. This track, more than some others, is going to be very, very crucial in how qualifying plays out for the whole night.
Absolutely it is. Let's see what Zach Rattray White can do, having to face off against traffic as well as all the heavy hitters and those on sequence have come out for their next out lap. Rattray White, though, getting a clean run so far. Don't know how much he would have been distracted by the cars ahead, but man, he's carrying so much pace through turn 7. Turn 8 immediately to the inside. Get on the throttle earlier than you think. It opens up a little on the exit, but you've got to bring it back around for turns 9 and 10.
Personal best first sector, so he's faster than he was looking on that first attempt he made. Personal best second sector, so he's faster than that attempt through sector 2 as well. Can't compare this one though, because he didn't register an official final sector, but looking pretty good. I think this lap should be pretty decent. I'm going to predict a 140.2.
Let's see then. The run to the line for Zach Rattray White. How close does he get to the top? The time is a 39.9.
P5.
That's excellent stuff from Zach Rattray White, especially considering the track would be ever so slightly hotter than at the start of this session. Actually, it's fallen down a degree. All right, so Rattray White has ended up timing this lap perfectly.
Very good job. You should be very, very happy with that. Jordan Ross will be the next time that we will see on the board. Currently in 11th position. We'll see what he can do. His first lap of 140.138. It's scary to think that only 0.4 of a second is the gap between first and 11th. It's so tight. The whole way through the field, 1 second puts you back from P1 all the way back to P28, Dylan O'Shea.
That's a ridiculous field spread. There's practically no field spread at all. That's how competitive this series is, and that's exactly what has been the allure of V8SCOPS for the last 10 years running. This championship is certainly shown to be one of the best proving grounds for drivers that have gone on to even greater things, and one of the most prestigious championships in the AusNZ SimSphere. Really excellent job from all the drivers here tonight on giving us a cracking qualifying session. Tom Freer, meanwhile, trying to gain on Jordan Ross here, and it looks like he's actually up on this lap right now. Let's see what Freer can do to break further into the top 7.
And Rudd's going to be one to watch as well. He's just on a fastest first sector as well, so need to keep an eye on him in a minute or so, but Jordan Ross will cross the line. No improvement for him, but
oh, hello.
Freer goes up to 3rd. Great lap.
Yeah, fantastic from Tom Freer, the 707 up into P3. Myers will improve to P6. Adam Briggs up into 18th place. Not seeing quite the pace from Adam Briggs that we saw in practice. Oh my
James
lord,
Scott
yes.
as well.
Dylan Rudd and James Scott making big improvements there, both in the 39.5s now. Can anyone beat them?
Brandon Leonage also improved on his lap, so this is some great qualifying from these guys, all making big improvements on that run.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's gotten the memo about the track temperature falling by a degree. And, 1 degree Celsius isn't that much, but it can make all the difference on a racetrack. Really amazing to see the improvements that these guys have made in the middle of the session. And we still have 5.5 minutes left.
Yeah, amazing how much time still remaining. So we'll get one more run. Bo Albert will be the next driver to potentially put a lap time in. He's gone off sequence from everyone else. Who else is now coming out of the pits? You can see O'Reilly and Rattray White have just come out of the pits as well. So there's going to be a lot going on in this final 5 minutes of the session. Stay with us if you are just joining us. Welcome along. This is going to be a hectic session. That 1 second now goes down to the top 23. But entire field, first to 34th, less than 2 seconds. Only one driver yet to put in a lap time, that is Brenton Hobson. He's going to need something pretty special to get to 6th though.
Yeah, indeed he will. 6th place lap time from Brady Myers, a 39.9, and looking at Hobson's lap times in practice, the best he could do was a 1 minute 40.2, but of course the track was a little bit hotter then. So we'll see what Brenton Hobson can do in the 88. He's another one of the drivers that's been there practically from the very start of V8SCOPS. He's been part of the AusNZ sim racing community for well over a decade by this point. So let's see what he can do coming up to the end of an outlap here. He will be the first to start his final run in qualifying for V8SCOPS Round 4 here at the Circuito de Jerez. Nice and wide coming into Lorenzo. Straighten the car up, put the power down, try not to get too much wheel spin, and away you go.
Square that corner off very, very nicely. So we'll see what he can do here. Okay. It'll be tough to get some good times on the board now with so little time left in qualifying, field being so tight, but this looks like a very, very nice, neat start to the lap. So make sure that you can nail each of these apexes. He's doing a very nice job of it so far. Extra committed, slightly uphill. This will be worrying though. Look at this traffic ahead. Hopefully they don't impede him.
Yeah, it's a train of 4 cars there. I see 2 Phoenix Racing cars. They immediately pull over to let Hobbo go. Same for, I think, Blake Warboys as well in the midst of all that. And the 2 Lobs Esports cars pull over as well. Bo Albert will not improve on his fastest time there.
Lost it all in the last sector.
Yeah, it's a shame, and considering there's only 3 minutes left on the clock, he won't have time to make it round for another. Chris Coxhead will improve to 17th place, put Stenny down to 18th. Hobson in the final half of the lap now. And how are his sector times looking?
They're not too bad. They're not completely horrible. So he's personal best in the first sector. Not quite an improvement in the second sector, but very, very close. One driver we will need to watch is Jacob O'Reilly. He is on a lap at the moment. Remember, he's a little bit out of sequence. But his lap looks like it should be good enough for a top 10 at this stage, so keep an eye on him. This looks like it'll be a good finish for Hobson.
Yep, coming up to the apex of Lorenzo. Saw, I think that was Myers there running wide to let him go. And to the line, Hobson will come. What is this time going to be? 1 minute 40.029. Lovely stuff. Gets into the top 10.
It's a brilliant lap. Not much more, and he would have got 6th. Jacob O'Reilly is predicted here for P3 according to the grip timing, so we'll see what he can do here. But this lap looks absolutely brilliant from Jacob O'Reilly. He's been able to break away from his teammate in Zach Rattray White, who came out in front of him. So Rattray White will be potentially session done, but O'Reilly will cross the line. What is he going to do?
Oh, 39.8.
Goes to 4th.
That's 4th. Brilliant stuff from Jacob O'Reilly. And Zach Rattray White goes to P3 then, right behind him.
Wow.
Big statement from Vermilion Esports there.
Great lap times there from those guys. That one from Rattray White caught me off guard because I didn't see a personal best sector in amongst that at all. So, well done from him. Trey White, P3, that's brilliant for those guys. Tom Freer on a good lap at the moment. But it looks like Madison Down is the one to watch. He is predicted P2. We'll see if he can get there.
Yep, gently does it through the exit of Cito Ponds down to Dry Sack. Look at him, he's extending the entry to the corner as much as he can. Just keep 2 tyres on the curb and you're good to go. That's a nice clean exit from the hairpin as well for the 3-time V8 SCOPS champion. It's always amazing seeing Madison Down do a hot lap around a place. You know, he puts the time in. He's got incredible amounts of natural talent as well. He's held on to it for so many years here. He is one of the winningest drivers in V8 SCOPS history, only matched by Jared Filsell. Let's see what Down can do. Coming into the final few corners of the lap, he's extending it as much as he possibly can, but he's not going to commit. Rayan Leonage improves to 3rd. Dylan Pereira up to P7. Great improvements for Phoenix Racing Team in the dying seconds. And that's the end of qualifying. Leonage just scraping in.
And James Scott would have done a 9-3, but the timer ticked down to 0 before the end of the session.
My goodness. Well, this is going to be your grid for race 1 then. James Scott and Dylan Rudd are 1-2 for Lobs Esports on the front row, only separated by 0.08 of a second. Rayan Leonage, that late improvement to P3. What a fantastic lap it is from young Rayan. Zach Rattray White too, brilliant job. Starts on the second row alongside for Vermilion Esports. Tom Freer is the top synergy car in the 707, starting alongside Rattray White's teammate Jacob O'Reilly. Dylan Pereira, another late improvement up to P7, will start alongside Madison Down in 8th spot. Just fantastic to see the performances from drivers in this session. Myers will start in 9th alongside P2 in the championship, Jake Maloney. TTR rounding out the top 10.
There we go, back to Brenton Hobson. Great job from him to start in 11th position alongside Bo Albert, who will start from position number 12. 13th will be Lachlan Capel and Jordan Ross. ERT Synergy Sim Racing, couple of rows there. We row 7 for those guys. Bloke Warboys will be in position 15 alongside Ewan Baker. In 16th, Andre Youssef and Chris Coxhead. Great to see Chris back out on track. He will start from 18th position. 19th will be Kurt Stenberg and Adam Briggs will round out the top 20.
Starting 21st is Kenneth Latta, runner-up in V8 Veterans for 2 seasons running. He'll start alongside Michael Whiting, the winner of Split 2. Joe Mahoney, pole position in V8 Supports category on Friday, will start 23rd alongside Brady Baldwin. Then we have Jamie Machado sharing the 13th row of the grid with Thomas Freeman, the privateer. Paul Young for Phase 4 Motorsports, starting alongside Synergy's Jamie Johnston. And Ben Morris will start the 43 out of 29th alongside 9.5 SimSports' Dylan O'Shea. Would have expected O'Shea to be a little higher up there. Jay Brazier will start alongside Tyson Broad for Drop Bear Motorsport. And then one final fishy car in the form of David Kirby, starting alongside William Brown, who will start the race from pit lane thanks to contact with Jamie Dyke, who will take the 35th and last spot on the grid for V8 SCOPS Round 4.
This is the format we will see for tonight. First race will be 17 laps. There we will see the second race. We double the distance, but the added challenge of 2 compulsory pit stops. So that will be a really, really entertaining race when we get to that one. We know that the tyres don't like performing. So first race is going to be about tyre preservation. Second race is going to be about tyre
maximization?
Yes, tyre strategy, essentially, isn't it? It's going to be about making sure you can make the tyres work.
Yeah, exactly right. Well,
the
revs will rise.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get that train of thought back on the tracks because the race is about to start. Round 4 of V8 SCOPS is go, and great starts from the Lobs Esports duo, but the second phase belongs to Dylan Rudd. He'll draw alongside James Scott on the way into turn 1. Great start from Zach Rattray White as Rayan Leonage tries to come through, and there's Jacob O'Reilly off. Looks like Brady Myers made contact with him coming through the first turn there. The drama has already started in V8 SCOPS Split 1. 3 wide in the midfield.
Guys, it took that long as there's another incident. Paul Young and looks like potentially Chris Coxhead all making contact
Freeman,
with each
Baldwin,
other.
and Brazier and Malone and Mahoney have all had trouble there at the back of the field. There is the number 36 getting back going, as it looks like James Scott has not been able to get away from his teammate Dylan Rudd, championship leader and third in the championship run, 1 and 2 at the moment for the first time into the dry sack hairpin, as there's big racing for the last few positions in the top 10. Dylan Pereira trying to protect from Madison Down, and he will stay inside here, but Down is going to get the run here with a little push from Bo Albert as well, who puts the 06 up the inside. Safety car is out. There's been a problem for Jay Brazier.
He hasn't gone anywhere. Surprised to see him stopped where he is, so I'm surprised that the safety car's out this early in one aspect, but in the same breath, we often will see a safety car early on. So save your tyres, lads. It's tyre conservation again.
Oh, tell you what, if you want to talk about heartbreak, man, Jay Brazier could write a whole album about it, because he blew his engine on the downshift coming into the braking zone for turn 1. The round has gotten off to the worst possible start for the driver who finished on the podium in split 2 and started on pole for the split 2 race as well.
And the best running qualifying for this one, but as you said, look at this as a heartbreaking result. A very good launch. Look, he's already gone past Damien Johnson. He was closing in on Freeman, and downshifting, bang, there goes the engine. It's race over before it even began, really.
Yeah, he had no choice but to park it on the outside of turn 1 there. There was no way he was making it around the rest of the lap. Well, now the field is neutralized behind the Proven Energy Porsche Mission R, and we've seen pit stops happen for Thomas Freeman, Tyson Broad, Kenneth Latter, and Joe Mahoney. Mahoney and Latter obviously with a lot of damage to repair. We'll see what happened here to Thomas Freeman. He was one of the drivers who was caught in the melee in the midfield. Looks like that's Johnston trying up the inside of him. Oh, there was a crash ahead. It looks like that's Chris Coxhead who went for a bit of a run there. Tyson Broad also got hit off in all of that contact. And so Freeman had no choice but to bring it back into the lane. I don't know if we're going to be seeing any more of him.
He's got a mechanical black flag, so I think Freeman may be done. Latter and Mahoney still also in the pits, but Tyson Broad's been in and he's back out. His car doesn't look too healthy, but yeah, he's already served that penalty. I guess the one winner to come from this will be William Brown. He's now at the back of the field, basically where he would have qualified.
Yeah, wow. Oh dear. Well, it's something that, you know, isn't out of the ordinary for V8SCOPS Split 1. There's usually a lot of carnage in the first couple of corners, particularly down in the field, and the safety car comes out. Well, fortunately for Joe Mahoney, he'll get going again, so will Ken Latter. But Jay Brazier is back in the pits now, having given permission to tow by race control, and we'll likely not see him out on track again, at least until the halfway mark of this race. Meanwhile, Thomas Freeman's still in the pits getting repairs done. So we still have 33 cars running in the race, and Dan Stevens in the safety car will stay out for another lap or so, I would gather. And then we'll be able to get back to green flag racing, and this race will truly become a sprint after this.
Yeah, it will. I guess the one positive for the field is that this will help the tyre conservation. The downside is that they won't get the 100% best out of the tyres at the start of the race, but it's still going to be about 95%, 90% in regards to the performance. So they'll still be pretty good at the start of this restart. Will it affect the fall off of the tyres though? I'm not sure. It's going to be very, very interesting when we get to the restart. The track temp though has dropped a little.
Yeah, just by another degree, but as we saw in qualifying, that can make all the difference, just a single degree Celsius. So I'm expecting Scott and Rudd to be right on the attack here. They weren't able to break away from Rattray White in the first part of lap 1. And I think Rattray White and Leonage will be hungry to try and get into those top 2 places. Hobson, meanwhile, has made up positions, and look at where he is.
Yeah, I saw that and I didn't want to say a word about it, but hey, have a look who else has actually come out. I'm surprised. The mechanical back flag obviously wasn't as bad as we expected. Back out is Thomas Freeman. He is 1 lap down, 2 laps down, but no, he's actually still on the lead lap.
No, he's still on the lead lap, yeah.
How has he done that? That's incredible.
Just good timing, and the slow lapping behind the safety car is what has saved him there. Freeman still has damage to the front left from what I saw on those shots, but at the very least, he'll be able to resume running at the rear of the field, and everyone's only just making their way into turn 6, so he has plenty of time to catch up. Just got to make sure not to burn through the tyres too much. A new set will be on that car. So he'll have at least one bit of advantage over everyone else. But all this lapping behind the safety car will cool the tyres down. We're going to see some big attacks coming back onto the green flag run.
Incident between Jacob O'Reilly and Brady Myers is being reviewed. Incident between Brady Bourbon and Keith Hatter is being reviewed. Incident between Chris Coxhead and Jamie Machado under review. Between Adam Briggs, Kurt Stenberg, Kenneth Lather under review.
Yeah, a lot of work for race control to do already. They had plenty of work to do in Split 2, but Split 1 is where the workload really starts to increase if you're a V8SCOPS steward. So, the Proven Energy Porsche Mission R coming into the pit lane now. Dan Stevens will bring the safety car into the lane, and now the field falls under the control of James Scott. He'll be able to start any time from now. I guess he'll try and line it up here on the apex of the final corner. No, he's waiting a little bit. Field bunches up behind and he takes them by surprise. Away he goes. Lobs Esports will lead across the line, but it looks like a little bit of back and forth between Hobson and the TTR trio of Down, Myers and Maloney. Maloney will make up the position there on Myers and try to have a go at Hobbo into turn 2, but Brenton keeps it straight to the inside. Just a little bit of door banging between the teammates there as we have a car around.
Take War Boys around. The contact between he and someone for sure, because there's huge witness marks on the side of that car.
Yeah, definitely big gouges out of the door there of the WKMP 63 as the TTR Commodores battle over supremacy here, Down getting ahead of Myers. And, oh dear, Myers is going to come back a little bit in the braking zone, but stay in line. Got to protect from Bo Albert and the rest of the ERT crew that are trying to make their way up through here. Scott will still lead from Dylan Rudd, but not by much. The field's very tight at the top.
Whereas this is the contact here as well, so a million car up the inside, and then there's contact with Capel, who turns the car of War Boys there, so a little bit of strangeness in that one.
Yeah, I think just a little bit of latency, unfortunately, turning War Boys around there. So coming up to the end of the first real racing lap here at Jerez. James Scott ran a little deep into the final hairpin, and that almost gave a chance for Rudd to get up the inside, but he won't do it. There's a single file through the rest of the field. Now everyone just needs to get into the rhythm. The Phase 4 cars there, I think that's Young having some issues, but now James Scott immediately fastest lap. No surprise there. But do any of the drivers behind him have the pace they need?
Rudd actually registered a faster lap time at an incident point for running off the circuit, so he's pushing those limits. We talked about the track limits in Split 2. Drivers can exceed the track limits. They do have a few incident points to play throughout this race. This race they have effectively double what they will have in the second race, because they have the same amount for each race, 25 in each. Here comes Bo Albert looking up the inside of Brady Myers.
Yeah, will Myers give it to him though? He'll try and hold the outside line, and Albert will push him towards the exit, but just enough room has been given, and Myers will keep the position. Albert's going to have to try something else if he wants to get by. Yep, now is the opportunity. Oh, but nothing doing up the inside of turn 8. The TTR Commodore will remain defensive coming into turns 9 and 10, but Albert round the outside in the braking zone. Beautiful move there from the ERT Mustang.
And a very good job there, did Bo Albert. He just had the momentum through the double lefts and was able to maintain the overspeed, chop the nose off of Brady Myers, and Myers had nothing to fight back with. And look at the gap that he's already pulled. He's already pulled a couple of car lengths.
Yeah, indeed.
Myers does have a bit of damage though.
Yeah, he does. Myers has been banged around a little bit in the early stages of this race, but Bo Albert will be steadily marching forward now, I'd imagine. Scott once again bringing the fastest lap down to a 1 minute 40.1. Just incredible pace from the Lobs Esports cars up the front. Meanwhile, Jordan Ross stands a chance of getting past Dylan Pereira, and he will be up into 12th place. Lachlan Capel right there to take advantage, and there's a whole host of cars ready to go for it too. Kurt Stenberg right in the midst of all of that in the red TTR machine. You can always count on Stenny to be in the fight somewhere. Most positions gained belonging to Dylan O'Shea. He is all the way up to 16th place, and considering he started in 30th, that's a really good run at the start.
100%, it's great for O'Shea there. He didn't have a great qualifying, but the performance he's had from the start of the race has been very, very strong. On Thomas Freeman watch, he's had to bring the car back into the pits. It's just not performing for him at all. And also, we've lost Chris Coxhead as well from that incident we saw at the start of the race as well.
Shame for Chris Coxhead. We still haven't seen any sign of Jay Brazier making his way back out onto the racetrack.
Well, he won't be able to because he brought out the safety car.
Yeah, true. That is in the rule book, which I should remember. Well, Brenton Hobson still holding on to 6th spot, but he's got a two-pronged TTR attack from behind. Maloney in the Mustang and down in the Commodore. Coming up to the end of the 6th lap here, and I'll tell you what, this is certainly going to be one of the tighter battles around here, to say nothing of Myers and Albert. Looks like Brady hasn't let Bo get away.
I thought that the damage to that car and the gap that was pulled very, very quickly, that Bo may have been able to break a little bit of a gap from Myers, but in saying that, they are all so tight in regards to pace. The top 10 cars, the biggest gap between them is 3.5 tenths of a second from the fastest to the slowest within this group. It's absolutely incredible how close the top 10 are in regards to one lap pace. At the moment, the slowest driver in the top 15 is Ewan Baker, and his pace is still not horrible when you compare it to the rest of the field. It's really close the whole way through. That's why we're seeing no moves being attempted. I take that back because Tom Freer, Ray and Leonard just changed position. That's caught me off guard.
Yeah, at the hairpin, Freer getting up into 4th place. So Leonard has got a little more work to do here as the top 3 are now starting to break away. This is how Freer did it. Nice run out of Cito Pons. Yeah, this is a very off. Yeah, wow, that's a big dive there. I don't think he was anticipating that, but Leonard certainly was. Saw him coming and made room. Nice racing between those two.
A very, very good overtake there for Tom Freer into 4th. He's been really, really strong in his overtakes over the last 18 months. He's really improved in regards to his pace, but his overtaking and his racecraft has also improved, which one thing to have really good pace, but if you don't have any racecraft to go along with it, no point being quick. But Freer's improved in both of those aspects over the last 18 months. It's been really good to see his progress.
Yeah, he's certainly getting towards the top of V8SCOPS, I think, in terms of raw talent. He's been working on himself quite a bit, and the work has shown. Well, we look a bit further back here. This is battling in the midfield. Michael Whiting, this is 22nd place he currently occupies, and there's a huge train of cars in front and behind. This is all for 19th place. Ben Morris at the front of this pack, and this pack will go all the way down to Paul Young in 26th.
I think the lead group, while it's as close as this one, I don't think we're going to see as much overtaking in that lead group as what we probably will back here, because we know that these guys back in this field, back in the pack of V8SCOPS, these positions are like World Championship positions. They will fight and fight hard for them, and have a look at that right on cue. Johnson goes through, Whiting has an attempt, and now it's just going to be absolute chaos from here.
Yeah, Adam Briggs will try and hold on to this one, and they come together on the exit. Whiting goes off the track, and look who's ready to pounce. David Kirby in the 307. Jacob O'Reilly back there as well. O'Reilly, I think, is just having some major problems in these early stages. I didn't even notice that Jake O'Reilly was so far down. We saw so much going on the first lap.
Remember, lap 1, turn 1, he was turned around with side-by-side contact with Brady Myers, so that's where his issues have come from. So now on the recovery drive, he was second last at the end of the first lap and is now back up into 24th. And we've also just seen Ewan Baker's lost one spot to Dylan O'Shea, and now Kurt Stenberg, and now Jamie Machado's trying as well, but Baker's coming back at Stenberg, just ahead of those guys.
Yeah, tries to force the issue there with a little bit of contact. And Machado's going to make it three wide on the way into turn 2. Almost. But, man, Stenny's getting banged around here. Ewan Baker on a big defense. Machado taking advantage of both of them. And, he runs a little bit too wide.
And those guys that were leading that other group that we were watching, Ben Morris and Damian Johnson, have broken away and now in this fight as well.
Absolutely love the midfield battles in V8SCOPS. It's ridiculous how much pace these drivers will throw at each other. Yep, bit of a bump draft for Stenberg. He's going to go up the inside of Baker at dry sack. All of this fighting, remember, is for 16th place. And pushes him wide, very wide. Machado will take advantage, 3 wide into turn 7. Stenny has to back out of it. And there we go, Damian Johnston as well, fighting his way past Stenberg. Machado looks to be the fastest car in this pack, and he's going to try and line up a move on Baker soon, I'm sure.
Back in that other group we were watching, Paul Young's just dropped all the way to the back of the group, so he's had issues. And William Brown's now off in the dirt, so his first night of V8SCOPS top split racing has not gone to plan.
No, certainly hasn't. He'll fall down to 32nd, last running car on the lead lap as Latter and Young trade positions for 30th spot. Meanwhile, in this pack here, it looks like Baker has decided to engage the runaway button. As we've seen what happened here to Brown. It's another one. That's, I think that's Young. Yeah, Young that hit him wide there, coming into turn 9.
Just reading the notes from race control as well, there is an incident or contact under safety car under review between Dylan Pereira and Bo Albert. So we missed that during the replays of the safety car, but there's been contact under safety car that race control is reviewing between those two cars.
Okay, we'll likely get some news on that soon. Andre Youssef trying to chase down the 143 of Jordan Ross. That's the battle for 11th place, and this fight still shows no signs of slowing down. It is one big pack. It goes all the way down to Tyson Broad here, who sits in 28th place. Machado still trying to chase down Baker here for that coveted 16th place. Hasn't been able to make much inroads. He took advantage of the battling on the last lap, but seems like now that Baker has some clear air, he's managing to gain a little bit.
Legitimately 13 cars in this group of cars. That's Adam Briggs running wide. He'll give up the spot to Michael Whiting, who's had good pace in this race. A top 20 from coming through second split. It's one of the better results we will see. I think we've had a couple of top 10s in the past, but they're very, very rare that we see any of the drivers from second split get themselves up inside the top 20. So very, very good to see.
Yeah, Michael Whiting driving very well tonight, and he's managed to overcome quite a bit of negative energy, I suppose, in all of the battling that's gone on over the course of the first 11 laps of this 17-lap race. We are well past the halfway point now, Jay, and this is where the gloves will really start to come off.
Also some news from race control, post-race investigation for that lap 1, turn 1 contact between Jake O'Reilly and Brady Myers and Tom Freer. So they are obviously wanting to see a little bit more data around that one, and do it when they've got 27 million angles that they can look at.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't seem to be much time that they have in between everything else they're reviewing from this race to get that done. Well, the fighting still continuing here for 6th spot. Brenton Hobson is protecting this position with his life, and it is the position he is most famous for. If you're new to V8SCOPS, Brenton Hobson is known as Mr. 6th place because he seems to be in and around that place quite a bit over the many years he's been competing in V8SCOPS. Looks like Race Control have made a decision on the 033, which is, yep, Damien Johnston. Has to redress position to Kurt Stenberg for the contact they made on lap 9. There we go. Yep, all sorted. Play on.
And talking about that 6th position for Hobson, remember it was years and years of competing in this series, and every single time it looked like he was going to get a best finish. He ended up finishing 6th, so he just had so much time of continually finish 6th, and then all of a sudden he broke through and got a couple of seconds at Sonoma in a fuel save race, and then he came in for an interview and he goes, I have no idea how to fuel save, I have no idea how I did that. So all of a sudden he broke the hoodoo of 6, but it still somehow hangs around in regard. It doesn't matter what series it is. He still seems to find himself in 6th, whether it's V8SCOPS, Pro Invitational Series, or ODSE Dirt Night. He somehow finds himself in 6th and battles for that 6th position very, very well. Be good to see him finally get a number 1 next to his name, because he is one of the drivers that have driven the most races in V8SCOPS to not have a win. The driver that has more race starts without a win is Kurt Stenberg, but Hobbo does hold the number 2 title of most race starts without a race win.
Yeah, plenty of big statistics in V8SCOPS competition, because the series has just been around for so long and it's maintained that level of competition the whole time. Australia's best compete in this series, and it's certainly proven to be one of the premier competitions in our area of the world. Well, coming to the start of lap 13, we have 5 laps to go in this race, and Hobson's still holding steady versus Jake Maloney and Madison Down, but it seems he's turning into a metaphorical cork in a bottle, because Leonage, Freer, Rattray White, they're on their own in the battle for 3rd. Dylan Rudd and James Scott, plenty of distance between them in the lead.
Brady Myers has broken off from this group as well, so we said that Albert might have been able to break away from Myers, and he definitely has now. So Albert will close in on the back of this group. No one able to really make any inroads in regards to overtakes within the top 10. Dylan Pereira close to Andre Youssef, won't be able to get anything done. So Dylan O'Shea though, you know how aggressive he can be when it comes to race mode. He's up 15 positions. He tried to make it 16 then for a second because he wanted to get past Power of Lachlan Capel.
Yeah, the number 18 has not been able to make much inroads, has he? Capel was involved in a couple of scraps on lap 1, and he's had some trouble making further pace since then. Pereira and Youssef battling ahead might give him a chance to make up places, but he's just making a couple of mistakes there. Kurt Stenberg, meanwhile, still fending off Damien Johnston, but Michael Whiting is right there. 20th place, currently occupied by the Fishy 025. And it looks like Johnston ran a little wide out of turn 11 there. That will give a slight advantage to Whiting, but not close enough for a move into the hairpin.
He's not quite close enough. He's almost there, but it's nothing happening at that stage. Also seeing that Race Control have given a licence point penalty to Bo Albert or contact made under safety car with Dylan Pereira. So no in-race penalty, no post-race penalty, but it will be a time penalty. Oh, that's dangerous.
Capel. Oh dear, that's an awkward spot. He's going to fall behind Michael Whiting there, and back into 20th spot there. Michael Whiting now up to 19th. What on earth happened to Lachlan Capel here? Did O'Shea hit him? Oh, he was deep in turn 2. And that's exactly
It's a
how
rejoin.
that kind of incident will turn out. Yeah, this was a bit of a dangerous rejoin there. Stenberg had to take avoiding action, so did Johnston.
It was safe but dangerous at the same time, wasn't it? He was clear, but guys around him, yeah, they did have to show a little bit of caution, but everyone made it through, so I guess that's a positive to take away. But instantly, race control are looking at that incident between Capel and O'Shea. I don't know how to view that one, and it's another one that we're happy to sit on this side of the booth and let those guys work that one out.
Yeah, exactly. The fighting is continuing to heat up between Johnston and Stenberg. They realise now that thanks to Capel's incident, they have a chance at a few more points, and they can dial up the aggression a little bit. Stenny in 17th place right now, and Johnston is struggling to really beat his lap times right now. Stenberg ran almost a tenth faster on the previous lap. Michael Whiting, though, man, he is running 2 tenths faster than Johnston. You would think that Whiting would have an easy time making his way up there, but it's still a very warm track. And it's a very cramped circuit at the best of times. Speaking of cramped, look at this into turn 1. Adam Briggs trying to hold off Ben Morris, David Kirby, and Blake Warboys. As up the inside will go Mr. Morris, and Briggsy will be bumped wide once again. Kirby is going to try and take advantage, but not able to. Warboys will come up the inside of him into turns 3 and 4.
Talking about the aggression of Dylan O'Shea and how he's been able to make overtakes, it's all going to be for nothing because he's just been issued a drive-through penalty for causing an incident as Madison Down gets through on his teammate Jake Maloney. So I think that's a change of position to see if Madison can get on by and get up to Hobson, because they've lost a little bit of ground over the last couple of laps.
There's a lot more real estate now between Down and Hobson, and considering we're only going to have 2 laps to go when they next cross the line, probably worth it now. But there might be some that say the TTR cars should have switched earlier if they were having so much trouble. But regardless, I think that this will be a good place for them to be in. O'Shea, meanwhile, he would have just gotten the news of that drive-through penalty, and we'll be expecting him to go for pit lane this time round, and indeed he does. Be careful not to cut the inside of the hairpin. Don't go over the white line. I think he's safe. Oh, he got to slow down, I think.
Yeah, he got to slow down through turn 12 there, up turn 11. So
yeah,
had to so that before he got into the pit lane.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why we see people getting black flags for cutting the inside of the pit lane entry. You will get a slowdown if you run over the white line, and if you don't clear it by the time you get into pit lane, then you are given a black flag. So that's just made things a little bit worse for Dylan O'Shea there. His great run up through the field coming to an end. So, car 79, Rayhan Leonard. She's looking to break into the top 4 here. Tom Freer still holding on to that 4th spot. Rattray White not too far ahead. This is ultimately the battle for 3rd place, and there's a lot of cars involved in this. You can extend it back to Hobson, Down, Maloney and Albert if you really want to. This has turned into a very intense race.
Well, Hobson's closed up on these guys over the last couple of laps. It was around about 1.5 seconds. It's closed back down to 7 tenths again. So battle within this top 5, top 6 is really, really heating up. And Tom Freer may have just hit that proverbial cliff because his tyres look like they're really starting to struggle, about to get the white flag.
Yeah, we've reached the limit for the tyres in these conditions, as no moves being made in the hairpin. A warning for Lachlan Capel for the rejoin off turn 2. Almost taking out Stenberg and Johnston, indeed. The white flag is out, though, and we've been giving a lot of airtime to the midfield, haven't we, Jay, as Pereira and Youssef will continue fighting over 12th spot here. But we've barely given any airtime at all to these guys. James Scott, he's just run away since the start of the race. The gap stayed reasonably stable, out to about 2 seconds to his teammate Dylan Rudd. There's been no matching the Lobs Esports cars here in race 1.
They've been dominant. The performance had the pace of just been distracted because there's been another incident from race control that's come through. Sorry, another penalty is Jerez on the big defensive drive here. Is he trying to help his teammate and Hobson get on by? I don't think so. I think he's just struggling for tyres.
Yeah, maybe. And Hobson is unsuccessful in getting past Leonage there. So difficult to make moves around the outside of turn 7. And yeah, post-race drive-through penalty for Paul Young. That's for the contact that he made earlier with William Brown that sent him off the circuit. Leonage cutting the inside of turn 10. A little bit too much there. Could be a chance for Hobson to get through at the final corner. But speaking of the final corner, James Scott negotiating it as we speak from pole position, leading every single lap of the first race. And that result will go to James Scott and Lobs Esports here in round 4 at Circuito de Jerez. Brilliant drive from both he and Dylan Rudd. Rattray White will get onto the podium for Vermilion Esports, and those battles will conclude in the top 10 without further change in position. Stenberg still trying to keep Johnston behind at the final few meters of the race, and he has just enough to cross the line to take 16th place.
A very, very intense battle all the way, but from 3, well-deserved result for Scott, Rudd and Rattray White. They were very, very quick throughout the night and deserved that finish. Rain Leonage, the only driver in the top 5 that lost a position from his starting spot, but still finished in the top 5.
Yeah, wow. Brilliant stuff from all of the drivers that got to the end here. Chris Coxhead back out on track after his unfortunate contact incident, turn 1, lap 1. He'll ultimately complete 10 laps, and I don't think that's going to be quite enough to be classified for points, but at the very least, he'll see the checkered flag and will be the last finisher, or the last car to see the checkered flag here in race 1, which goes to James Scott. Dylan Rudd will finish in 2nd place, 2 seconds behind. Rattray White completing the podium. Synergy Sim Racing will finish in 4th place and 6th place for Tom Freer and Brenton Hobson. Leonage splitting them. Madison Down, 7th place for him. Up 1 spot from where he started, 2 up for Jake Maloney, and 3 up for Bo Albert, with Brady Myers losing out 1 position. Still rounding out the top 10.
There we go, back to Jordan Ross in 11th position. We just caught onto the back of that group at the end there. Andre Youssef and Dylan Pereira had a great battle, finishing in 12th and 13th. Ewan Baker had a huge train behind him at one point, but they all dropped off in the end. He finishes in 14th, and Jamie Machado, a little bit on his lonesome, in 15th. Then the big pack of cars we were watching for a lot of that race. Kurt Stenberg, Damian Johnson, Michael Whiting, Lachlan Capel, and Jake O'Reilly rounding out the top 20.
21st place on the road was Ben Morris, up 8 spots ahead of Blake Warboys, who got involved in drama on the first lap. Jamie Dyke, well, he started pretty much dead last, but he'll finish in 23rd place. Great run up for him. Same for David Kirby after starting 33rd. Briggs losing 5 spots, unfortunately. He'll have to make that up in race 2 ahead of Tyson Broad, Paul Young, Joe Mahoney, Kenneth Latter, and Dylan O'Shea, who got a drive-through penalty for contact. Brady Baldwin and William Brown will be the last 2 finishers on the lead lap. Chris Coxhead 3 laps down, with Thomas Freeman and Jay Brazier completing the list of cars in the race. Our only 2 retirements here after being taken out on the first lap. So next up, we've got race 2, 34 laps, 65% fuel tank restriction and 2 compulsory pit stops. There's a lot to play for here. The drivers are going to be very aggressive, seeing if they can make the tires last in the final round of running at the Circuito de Jerez here in V8SCOPS. We're going to step aside briefly here on SimSpeed TV. We'll be back in just a few moments to bring you the rest of the action.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
You're watching SimSpeed TV, the fourth round of V8SCOPS for 2024 here at the Circuito de Jerez. It is time for the second race of the night here in Split 1. This will decide the round winner. 2 compulsory pit stops, 65% fuel tank restriction. Let's go. James Scott is going to start on pole position, winning with race 1. With Dylan Rudd alongside him, Leonage, my things are messed up a little bit there. Rattray White is going to start in 3rd place alongside Tom Freer, with Rehan Leonage starting in 5th alongside Brenton Hobson. Madison Down is going to start in 7th spot alongside Jake Maloney, and then we have Bo Albert and Brady Myers rounding out the top 10.
There we go back. Jordan Ross in 11th position ahead of Andre Youssef. And in 13th position is Dylan Pereira. Ewan Baker starting in 14th, Jamie Machado and Kurt Stenberg will start on row 8 and 15th and 16th. Then back to Damian Johnston and Michael Whiting. Top 20 will be rounded out by Lachlan Capel and Jake O'Reilly, who recovered back to 20th and after starting right at the pointy end in race 1.
21st will be Ben Morris. He's looking to continue a run up the field after starting 29th for the first race alongside Blake Warboys in 22nd. Jamie Dyke, another good run, as well as David Kirby. They'll be looking to make up further positions too on the 12th row, with Adam Briggs and Tyson Broad 25th and 26th behind them. Then we go to Paul Young, post-race drive-through penalty for him. Joe Mahoney will start in 28th place to round out the top 28, and then it's Latta and O'Shea 29th and 30th. Brady Baldwin is going to start in 31st place alongside William Brown, who wants some redemption after a not too good debut in Split 1, with Chris Coxhead and Thomas Freeman 33rd and 34th. Jay Brazier will be the last car to take to the grid here, and he'll be hoping to at least get past turn 1 this time.
See, unfortunately, dropped it back a bit too quickly when he was going back through the gears, and blew the engine approach to turn one and brought out the safety car very early. As we said, it's a relatively easy format when you look at it on paper. You see 2 pit stops needed and it's 34 laps. But there's a little bit more to it, Reece, because the fuel/tyre windows don't quite add up. The fuel will last around about 18, 19 laps. But we know the tyres performance, if you run it for that full 18, 19 laps, it's going to be so detrimentally slower than the guys that split it relatively evenly into 12 or 11 lap blocks.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of mental maths for the drivers to do, and they'll obviously have other personnel here ready to help them on their way through it. It's time, though, to rise the revs up all the way to 7,500 as the V8 Symphony descends upon Spain once more. We are go for race 2 here at Jerez. Great starts, of course, from the front row. Already Tom Freer looking to protect from Rayan Leonage, who gives him a bump on the way to the braking zone and sweeping around the inside, around the outside. Madison down. Leonage losing the position there. Wow, coming into turn 2. The field will fan out once again. Hopefully there isn't as much of a melee in the midfield. Looks like we are seeing the majority of drivers get through there cleanly.
Hobson around the outside at turn 1 to steal 2 spots. Freer and Leonage, who were both battling hard. That was an incredible overtake there from Hobson to get himself up into 4th. What a start. But James Scott, Dylan Rudd have broken away at the front. Here comes Madison down to steal the spot from Tom Freer potentially.
It looks like Kurt Stenberg trying to get past Ewan Baker. Andre Youssef defensive a little bit further down there as they make their way into turn 6 for the first time this race. Hobson and Down both up 2 spots. The biggest losers at the moment being Ben Morris, down 10 spots at the moment. And have a look at the racing here. Tom Freer and oh dear, Lachlan Capel and Jamie Machado coming together. They will fall down the order outside the top 30.
Big damage to the front of both of those cars, as well as Tom Freer's off the track.
Oh no!
His car sliding across, and is that Brady Myers involved as well? Potentially, he's slow as well.
Such a shame for Tom Freer, one of the fastest drivers here today. It looks like he bumped Myers around coming out of turn 9, and both of them went off the track as a result. So that's created a little bit of drama here at the end of lap 1. We'll see who makes it through without any dents. Lap 1 of 34 is complete. Dylan Rudd's not allowed James Scott to get away in the lead, but this is where the fighting is. Kurt Stenberg up to 11th.
Stenny up 5, Johnson up 5, O'Reilly up 7. He's almost back up into the top 10, considering he started lap 1, race 1 in 6th position. By turn 2, he was back in the 33rd. Now he's back up into the top 13. That's a very, very good night for Jacob O'Reilly. Obviously, he would have liked to have stayed in that top 6, but where he was, comeback has been very, very strong. Here comes Madison down. He'll get the move done on Bretton Hobson here nice and easy.
Yeah, well,
really?
Yeah, a little bit more difficult than that. Hobson turned in and had to open the steering a little to allow down through. Well, we'll get a replay of what happened here between Machado and Capel. Looks like, Machado got hit by Johnston, it looks like, and spun across the front of Capel.
So and then that happened. Myers is the car in front, so it's a lot to unpack in that one. Have fun, race control.
Yeah, have fun indeed. I mean, you know, the basic fact of it is Freer tapped Myers around, but he had a lot more to think about there. And then...
Brady Baldwin.
Yeah, Brady Baldwin on the inside. Oh, yeah, big slide through turn 11, and thank goodness he was able to get that recovered and not ruin the race of anyone else there. Very high stakes in V8SCOPS as per usual. The battle for 3rd is now on. Zach Rattray-White has got Madison down, Brenton Hobson and Rayan Leonage behind him. Hobson, of course, a bit more of an outsider compared to Madison down and Rayan Leonage when it comes to outright V8SCOPS results, but he does have some great results on hand, and he's shown brilliant pace here at Jerez. Lost out a little bit through turn 4, though. Bit more of a gap now to down as the 3-time champion tries to round up Zach Rattray White.
Menage almost got up the inside there of Brenton Hobson, but Hobbo was able to get the run down the straight and will hold that position for now. Here comes Stenberg looking up inside of Ewan Baker. And it looks like Stenny will get that done. Will Damien Johnson able to get on through? No, he won't. Looks like Damien Johnson, I think he knows that there will be a penalty incoming. That was pretty obvious, that one.
Yeah, certainly was. Turning Jamie Machado around, and then unfortunately Lachlan Capel got involved in it through very little to no fault of his own. Blake Warboys, meanwhile, at the back of this pack, he's trying to desperately make up spots after a poor race 1. Oh, Downs getting up the inside of Rattray White for 3rd, and he's gotten it done at the final turn.
And also on the exit there, Hobson was a little bit offline, and Leonage was almost able to get the move done as well. So it's a little battle pack of 4 has turned into 2 and 2. Different teams in the group too. So the top 6, we've got 5 different teams.
Problem for William Brown, meanwhile. He's exited straight off the circuit. I think he had a technical issue, unfortunately. So yeah, William Brown's first V8SCOPS race night comes to an end. Such a shame, and hopefully he'll be back for future rounds, because there's an awful lot of potential in every driver that even makes a V8SCOPS grid.
Well, the one positive to look at is the next time he joins V8SCOPS, it can't go any worse than it has tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Take the pros out of it.
Yeah, indeed. Brady Baldwin lost a couple of positions coming out of the first couple of turns. He's getting harassed by David Kirby now. Looks like Brady ran wide out of turn 3. Just got a bit crossed up. Baldwin's having a very eventful race so far. So is Thomas Freeman, who, remember, retired from the first race and having a bit of trouble on his way through. Some big damage for the 495 in race 1, but steadily working his way up. Keep our eyes peeled on the battle for the top 3. Looks like Rattray White doesn't have much of an answer for Madison Down, but it seems like none of these guys have an answer for James Scott and Dylan Rudd.
The other part of that, though, Reese, is one thing that happened in race 1, that didn't happen in race 1, that will happen in this one, is pit stops. And that pit lane entry will bite someone aggressively, and it will catch out someone that we least expect as well. So don't be surprised if one of these top 10 that we go, hey, these guys don't make very many mistakes, ends up having a huge blunder at that pit entry.
Yeah, no such blunder for Thomas Freeman, who's the first driver to take that first compulsory pit stop. Only 4 laps in, but that's roughly in the margin for what we're expecting for an early stopping strategy. I reckon he'll get both of them out of the way as soon as he possibly can, and then run a little bit longer to the end. He should be able to make the tyres last.
The one thing that you saw when he was in that battle at the back, and he's getting held up a little bit, so now he's got clear track, he can just do his own thing. Like Warboys does his own thing up the inside of Damien Johnson, gets the move done.
Yeah, good stuff there.
Johnson doesn't look happy with it.
Warboys, yeah. Johnston obviously has a lot to deal with right now. And we'll have a look at what happened to Baldwin earlier. Yeah, he just got cut it a little too deep there through turn 3 and ended up losing 2 positions and ultimately maybe 3. David Kirby right in the midst of all of this fighting. Michael Whiting, meanwhile, well, he's remained in roughly around the position he started in. Adam Briggs recently making the move. Briggsy on a big run up through the field, as is Dylan O'Shea. As hello. Yeah, Myers recovering up the inside of Johnston, but turns him around at the final corner, and that will probably be a penalty coming Brady Myers' way.
Was he hit from behind by Dylan Pereira, causing that contact? That's the question that race control will be asking. Tom Freer decides to come into the pits. He's coming in to serve that first of 2 compulsory pit stops.
Indeed he is. Just taking another look here at the incident between Myers and Johnston. It actually looks like Pereira didn't make contact. It was just Myers, I think, losing the rear end on the way into the corner, and he corrected it, and it just went straight into Johnston at the apex.
You'll get a good view of it here, and he didn't make contact until after Myers had already hit Johnson, had he? So
yeah,
there was contact, but it was after the fact. Race control, no doubt, have a look at that. I can see already it's written in the sheet, so that's going to be looked at as well.
Indeed it will. So, Mr. O'Shea, well, he's got a lot to play for here, hasn't he?
Well, Damien Johnson's night gets worse.
Oh, yeah, it has.
We knew it was coming. I'm sure he knew it was coming.
Oh.
I'm sure he's sick of those rear Dunlops right now.
Yeah, I'll bet he is. It's such a shame for Damien Johnston. He had potential for a great result here tonight, but it's ultimately going to come to naught. He'll have to visit the pits at least 3 times in this race. Once for the penalty and twice for the 2 service pit stops. Meanwhile, Kurt Stenberg trying to get past Ewan Baker here for the top 10. Baker with a better run coming out of the final corner. Jacob O'Reilly stands a chance to get up into the top 10 too. Look at how aggressive he is on the brakes. Round the outside of Stenberg at turn 1. Does Stenny fight it into turn 2? Well, I can't see him on that camera, so I assume he's up the inside again, and he is.
Can make it work around the outside of turn 1. We've seen it already. Stenny just chops O'Reilly's nose off there. I thought that was going to be contact. I thought that was going to be disaster, but those drivers have done a very, very good job. Blake Warboy's looking to take advantage. Can't. It's amazing how you can be side by side and then all of a sudden get back in the line and you just continue fighting as if nothing's happened.
Yeah, such is the nature of this circuit, it seems. You know, there's a lot of intensity around here. As up the inside of Stenny goes Jake O'Reilly, and will almost get it done on the exit, but the tighter line out means he's compromised on acceleration, but maintains the momentum through the left-hander and will take 11th spot. Baker has driven away from these guys in this ensuing battle. The incident between Adam Briggs and Matt Morris on lap 1 is also under review from race control. I certainly don't envy race control's position having to deal with all of this. It's absolute chaos out there every single time we race in V8SCOPS.
On that previous lap as well, we saw Andre Yusuf, Chris Coxhead and Brady Baldwin come in to serve their pit stops. In comes Kurt Stenberg to serve his first of the 2 stops. I think the pit lane is going to be busy with someone every single lap right up until about 3 or 4 to go.
Oh, you know what? We were talking about Damien Johnston's night getting worse as Tyson Broad comes into the pits for his stop. Johnston has picked up a black flag on pit entry, so I mean,
black flag while serving is black flag, double black flags.
Yeah. Oh God, he's going to finish so far down the order. He's a lap down already, and that's. I mean, my sympathies go out to Damien Johnston for that.
Wait till you see how he's got it too. He's
Right.
coming in to serve the penalty here, so he's already pretty upset and angry about what's going on. Locks the brakes,
no.
cuts the line like that, and that is a penalty for unsafe pit entry for cutting the line.
My God.
When it's not your night, it's not your night.
No, yeah. When it's not your night in V8SCOPS, it's sometimes the worst night of your sim racing career. Well, a couple of Synergy cars that haven't had torrid nights so far. Brenton Hobson and Jordan Ross. Ross still solidly in the top 10. Remember, he started in 11th, and he's making it work here versus Maloney and Albert. Jake Maloney, remember, second in the championship. He hasn't quite finished where he needs to maintain that position.
Yeah, he hasn't had the most amazing night tonight, but finishing well and getting consistent finishes is often what gets you good results in V8SCOPS. We saw a few seasons ago he was battling for a championship based purely on the fact that he was the only driver that had finished every single race. Jacob O'Reilly into the pits to get his first pit stop out of the way. Also in is Paul Young. But remember, he has got a looming penalty, post-race drive-through penalty from race 1 to be added to his time at the end of the night.
Indeed, so make sure that the pit stop is as efficient as can be, and Jordan Ross will be hoping that his pass on Maloney is as efficient as can be, if he can even get there in the first place. Through Cito Ponds they come, a bit more aggressive over the curbs in the initial stage of the corner was Jordan Ross, but Maloney getting a slightly better exit, but only slightly, and even then it's not enough to overcome Ross, who gets up the inside at turn 6. Maloney will give him just enough room here on the inside and keep the position for just a few moments more with a better exit.
Love the way that you can fight back your position. You lose a spot and you can still fight it around the outside. It's one of the things that has been so good to bring racing from this circuit. It's why this track has been loved within the iRacing community. Why we will see it on schedules, hosted and official for years to come. I think it's turned into an instant classic. Like Imola, when it was released on iRacing, it became a fan favourite, a driver's favourite, a league admin favourite. I think Jerez has instantly become one of those tracks in that list, as well as Bo Albert comes into the pits.
All right, so Albert, one of the first drivers from inside the top 10 to make the call. Same for Freer and O'Reilly. Now, keeping an eye on pit stops here. Looks like the quickest stop so far is 10.6 seconds for Tom Freer. That tells me that he only took tyres in that first stop. He's going to be waiting to top up the fuel to get to the end when he eventually pits on about lap 17, I reckon.
Yeah, he would have taken enough fuel to cover, like just splashed in like 20 odd litres to make it the same amount as what he takes tyres, but didn't take much more than that. Bo Albert returns to the track and will be the leader of those that have pitted. There's Freer and O'Reilly. O'Reilly's had a big jump from the pit stops. He's actually gained a fair bit of ground, hasn't he? Net this race.
Yeah, he has. O'Reilly playing this really well, as looks like there's been contact between Maloney and Ross, and it was at turn 6. Unfortunately, though there was a bit of overlap, Ross did hit Maloney wide, and I'm sure race control will be taking a look at that too.
Take a look at it in just a second as well. So it's into a very, very interesting race, and the longer that your stints go on, the harder it becomes to actually manhandle the car, the harder it becomes to actually get yourself through this track without causing incidents, because the car does get away from you. Brady Myers has just been issued a black flag pit lane drive-through penalty for that contact with Damien Johnson. No big surprise.
And this is the contact between Maloney and Ross. Just straight up, fling it up the inside, and unfortunately not clear of him by the apex. So Maloney's decided to come into the pits, same as Adam Briggs, Dylan Pereira, Rattray White and Leonage too. How long will these pit stops take? They've been running around 10 to 12 seconds for the most part. Ross stays out, same for Ewan Baker and Blake Warboys. Warboys looking to go long here in the first stint to try and get as much track position as he can. We're hoping that he comes out in a reasonable area. Rattray White with a 12.3 second stop. Leonage 11.2. So a bit of a quicker stop, but not too quick of a run through pit lane, not enough to overcome Rattray White for Brand Leonage. Bo Albert will move up ahead of Maloney, so now running third of the cars that have taken a stop.
Control are looking at that incident between Maloney and Gordon Ross as well. Look at the pace that Leonage just got now on these fresh tyres. Now, one thing that we were looking at before the race was strategies, and had the graph up that we'd sort of done a bit rough guide on. The even stint strategy is 12, 11, 11, which is pit at the end of this lap or the next lap, but a few drivers have come in a little bit earlier, so I'm guessing they're hoping that the track does cool off a tiny little bit as we progress over the next couple of laps, which means that the tyres will last a little longer. Madison down stays out, but the others in that top 5 come in.
Yeah, righto. So I love seeing how the strategy ends up working out in races like this. It seems like Lobs Esports are going to be splitting the race evenly, coming in at the end of lap 11. So who wins the battle of the pit stops here? No surprise to see that they'll both be going for tyres. Well, Dylan Rudd and James Scott, but Down staying out for a little bit longer, and they're already out of pit lane. And they will come out, leaders of the cars that have pitted, of course, surprising absolutely no one, but Brady Myers, having just taken his drive-through penalty up behind Bo Albert. Remember, Myers still hasn't taken either of his compulsories yet.
Yeah, exactly right. He hasn't served those compulsory pit stops yet. 5-second penalty for Adam Briggs for contact with Ben Morris, and 5-second penalty for Tom Freer for contact with Brady Myers. That's the incidents we saw on lap 1. Both of those have had penalties come through. And there's also been a redress just come through as well for Joe Mahoney with contact with Kenneth Latta from lap 6.
Yeah, taken a bit for that penalty to be applied, but as we've just heard, Race Control had a lot of penalties to work their way through.
Still got a lot to look at too.
Yeah, oh god, yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to be in the AOG stewards booth now as Madison Down going that extra lap over James Scott and Dylan Rudd comes in. Ewan Baker's going to continue to stay out here, same for Joe Mahoney. Blake Warboy is also in the pit lane as there's a problem for Thomas Freeman out on track. The 495 is falling down the order and it looks like he's had a spin coming out of turn 7, it looks like. Well, Down will fall down the order. He's just come out of pit lane, but Rattray White and Leonage have beaten him for the last position in the top 4.
So Madison Down will have better tyres, but the undercut on that first stint has definitely helped the likes of Rattray White and Leonage. Bo Albert, though, hasn't been able to take advantage of the same undercut, so he's dropped a fair bit back. But Brendan Hobson's probably been the one that's lost out the most, although has taken the most fuel out of all of these guys, so he will have a shorter second stop. So, yeah, strategy games are coming into play. We thought that there was just going to be tyre strategy, but there's this tiny little bit of strategy that Brendan Hobson's played that we may not have expected. Good speed replay on that incident for Freeman. There may be something more to come from this. I've only seen it a little bit. Ooh, technical issue there for Paul Young, and then the side-by-side contact there with the
Jamie Dyke
car. So yeah, have fun, Race Control. They're already having a fun night as it is, but I think it's just getting made more and more fun as the night goes on.
Yeah, it's all party all the time in the stewards booth right now.
I don't know about that.
Ewan Baker is going to be the last to take the first compulsory stop here, and I'd imagine that, all right, a little bit of a slippy slide. Yeah, doesn't need them anymore after that. Unfortunately, Damien Johnstone still has a black flag hanging over his head. He hasn't come out. Looks like Johnstone's just decided to park it in the midst of everything that had befallen him over this second race. Warboys, meanwhile, he's looking to make some moves here.
He comes.
Trying to get past Tom Freer. As Ewan Baker exits the pit lane, and he's going to come out.
With these guys, I reckon.
Yeah, he is. Very close, at the very least. So he comes out, yeah, behind Stenberg, right next to Chris Coxhead and Adam Briggs, and oh, there we go. Just has enough room on the outside to keep the position. So Ewan Baker rejoins in 15th place.
And he's got 8 lap fresher tyres than Tom Freer. So there's a huge disparity in tyres. We're only 14 laps into this race. We're not even halfway, but the disparity... Geez, I'm doing a good job of speaking the English language tonight. The disparity in tyre performance and tyre life in this race is huge as Madison Down gets past Ryan Leonage. There's the tyre disparity right on cue.
Indeed, it is. Who's going to win the race into turn 6 here between O'Shea and Freer? Stenberg stakes his claim up the inside, and the freshly retired Ewan Baker, and I don't want to say retired, I'm saying retired, gets up the inside of Stenberg into turn 8, and might very well keep the position from there. Looks like Stenberg doesn't have much left to fight with on traction there. So Ewan Baker, first of likely quite a few positions he'll gain on this stint.
Oh, Albert's also just lost a spot there to Brenton Hobson. So Hobbo gets himself back into 6th. So we saw Madison Down get through. We've seen Hobson get through. Now, Ewan Baker, since he's put those tyres on, he's come out of the pits. He's already gained 3 spots straight back in 1 lap.
Absolutely, and have a look at that. New fastest lap of the race from Madison Down, who remains in 4th place, having made the move on Leonage a couple of moments ago. He's trying to chase down Rattray White, trying to chase down the top 2 that are a long way ahead. Here's how Madison got it done, down at turn 6. Fresh tyres, bit more he can take out of the braking zone, dives to the inside of the corner, and Leonage, despite his very young age compared to a lot of the drivers in this field, he's got a good racing brain, he's well aware. And Down's now trying again here on Rattray White to get into 3rd. But these guys are a long way behind James Scott and Dylan Rudd at the moment. We're looking at a gap of about 4 seconds that they need to make up somehow.
And speaking of the guys at the front, they're actually matching each other for pace still. They've got half a second gap between each other. Then this group here Down, obviously the quickest at the moment. Gee, I'm really struggling tonight, Reece. You could tell I wasn't in commentary mode before we went live. Shout out to Scott Rankin, who's not feeling the best tonight. But Rattray White is doing a very, very good job of defending this position with Madison Down having such better tyre performance.
Well, look at that run round the outside for Down. We almost got him on the exit, didn't he, but had to back out of it. Is there going to be a move into turn 1 here? Down's going to poke his nose out and go for it. Rattray White will have to give him room on the inside. Leonage aggressive on the way into turn 1. He's trying to make up a position here too. Will Rattray White lose anything here versus Down? Up on the inside, White will get onto the power and just keep the position from Leonage. So Madison Down's back onto the podium. Question is, committing to a later stop here or maybe trying to undercut the leaders. Wondering how that's going to work out for him. It looks like the gap's just not very assailable at the moment.
No, they're in a class of their own, aren't they? I mean, that lap there, Madison Down, sure, he had some issues getting past, but he lost 1.3 seconds over those guys in front. At the lead of the race, they're absolutely flying. The only driver matching the leaders for pace are Jordan Ross and Ewan Baker, and the reason that is because they've got the freshest tyres like Madison Down. Ewan Baker only on his first flying lap out of the pits. And the guys just behind Ewan Baker that Baker had already gone past, that's Stenberg, Coxhead and Tom Freer, remembering that Tom Freer has a 5-second penalty still to be applied to his race time at the end of the night.
It looks like he's going to let Chris Coxhead go there into turn 8, and that will sort that position out, give Stenberg a little bit more breathing room. Stenny got past Freer at the hairpin, and continuing his run forward. Drive-through penalty meanwhile for Kenneth Latta. Contact back on lap 6 with Joe Mahoney.
About this penalty here, originally Kenneth Latta was issued with a redress, and he didn't serve the redress before he served his pit stop, so he's then been issued and upgraded a penalty to a drive-through. So issues there for Ken Latta. He'll be probably going to knock on the door of race control, but just asking questions and clarification around that. And as you can see on screen, Tom Freer is in the pits to serve his second compulsory pit stop, and we're not quite at halfway.
He is technically driving.
He's going to drive through, but he's going to also stop.
Yeah. So it's a drive-through, but not a drive-through.
It's a drive through the lane, but just not doing a drive-through penalty.
Well, Freer's already completed a stop. 15.7 seconds stop there, 18 to go. He's going to try and push those tyres to the absolute limit. And, I mean, he'll have a really good undercut on everyone around him, but he'll be in trouble at the end.
And also got to add 5 seconds onto wherever he finishes. So he's got to push and get up as high as he can. Does he want a safety car? I say in one hand yes, in another hand no. He's in a real tough position whether he wants that safety car to come out or not. Because one hand he'll get some track position, but it also puts everyone back on the same strategy, bunches the field up, you'll lose more spots. So yeah, he's in a tough situation. If that safety car does come, I think we are now at still at a 100% safety car rate at this circuit. So we haven't had 100% of races with safety cars, but we've had 100% of rounds at Jerez with safety cars. There's still a chance.
There is still a chance, indeed. 17 laps to go. We saw that Ewan Baker's gotten by Dylan O'Shea briefly there. We're on board with Tyson Broad right now, who holds on to 18th spot. Andre Youssef has fallen down the order in this race. Hasn't been a very successful run for the Vermilion Esports 900, as the contact between Thomas Freeman and Jamie Dyke, no further action, which is interesting to see. I think Paul Young's technical issues in the midst of all of that may have been a mitigating factor in that decision.
Yeah, exactly right. I think it was too hard to understand exactly what was going on. They may look at that post-race if there's something more that comes of that, and the drivers ask for a bit further clarification. But I think, considering how the night's played out, there's been a bit of strangeness in how things have happened on track. So I think that probably let that slide and play on. What's behind these guys here? Chris Coxhead and Dylan Pereira side by side out of the hairpin, and making a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact as well.
No, but they sort themselves out. Oh,
do they?
Almost. Yeah, I was going to say, Pereira going for that lunge around the outside. Doesn't work out for him, so Coxhead will move on forward. I mean, Coxhead has had a great race. You know, obviously he had his troubles in race 1, but he's recovered well from them. He's up 17 spots from where he started for race 2. Same for Dylan O'Shea, but of course there is that post-race drive-through penalty hanging over Dylan O'Shea's head. The track temperature has been steadily dropping now. It's under 40 degrees, which means we're going to be seeing a little more performance being eked out of these tyres. As, oh, that's big wheel spin there for Andre Youssef coming out of the hairpin. Look who's here to take advantage. It's Jamie Dyke up the inside into turn 1 and up into 19th spot. But for how long? Does Youssef have anything to fight back with? No, he's going to back off. He realises the tyres are already overheated. Needs to take some time to recover that.
Incident between Jake Maloney and Jordan Ross at the hairpin. No further action racing incident.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean,
they
I
were right on
understand
side
that.
by side when the contact happened, so I guess that's fair.
Yeah, there was sufficient overlap. It seems like it was...
Two drivers not wanting to give an inch.
Yeah, exactly. And Ross was up alongside Maloney. The front of his car was halfway alongside, so yeah, that makes sense. Interesting
to note, though, we're already past the race distance of race 1, and we've had less race control investigations in this race so far than what we had for the entirety of race 1. So I guess that means that everyone's settled a little bit after that first race. Take away lap 1, everything else has been a little bit more settled.
Yeah, indeed, as Ben Morris tries to fight his way past Brady Baldwin. Yeah, I think, it's a psychological factor of the race distance as well. Like, you go into this knowing that it's a longer race, that you'll have opportunities to make up positions through the pit cycles, and so you end up the nerves do settle a bit, but you also are thinking about the long game a little bit more. And I think that's the reason why we're seeing less incidents getting reviewed by race control this time around. 15 laps to go for our leaders. Brady Baldwin's managed to keep the number 43 of Ben Morris behind him. Jamie Machado, who has had a very eventful night so far, looking to try and hold on. He's down 8 from where he started. He's got a lot to make up.
You say that Machado's had an eventful night, but I think there's 34 other drivers that have had an equally eventful night as well, really. It's been one of those nights, hasn't it, where it's just been crazy mayhem, chaos from start to finish for every single driver in the field. And that's positive and negative, isn't it? It's great that we've got such an action-packed series, and The only people that probably don't like the action are the drivers when they're involved in it, and race control by having to review it.
Yeah, and I think Rayan Leonage will want a bit less action here as he's trying to gear up for a pass on Zach Rattray-White. He sees that Madison Down has been steadily gaining over the last few laps. Of course, Down has 2-lap fresher tyres than these two. Rattray-White proving a difficult customer here. It seems like Leonage just isn't able to find what he needs to get on past and into the top 4. Lap 21 begins. We'll go to another Suit Speed replay. Machado, Morris and Baldwin. What happened here at the hairpin? It's Morris going for it on Baldwin in the number 7. And move made nicely. That's a textbook pass right there. I was expecting more drama.
Yeah,
to
sorry.
tell you the truth.
Sorry, the Suit Speed replays have been full of drama, but that one wasn't. It was just a very, very nice overtake. I thought probably need to showcase a few nice overtakes because there's been a lot of hip and shoulders throughout the race. That was a very, very nice one. You feel like Leonage might have enough here. One thing I was going to say about the car of Rattray-White, but it's actually the Vermilion cars in general, they seem to have very, very good acceleration out of the corners. They just seem to be able to hook it up. They don't have the great turn-in and things like that, but they just be able to get the exit of the corners nailed. They just look really, really controlled out of the corners. The rest of the car doesn't quite look as good as the others, but they're definitely looking a lot better at corner exit from a lot of others.
Yeah, and I think that's something that you want at
100%.
Jerez. You know, there's so many slow corners going into big acceleration zones around here. You need a car with traction, and that's exactly what the Vermilion Esports cars seem to have. As into the pits, here comes Rayan Leonage, the first in the top 10 to say, okay, time for compulsory pit stop number 2.
And with the track cooling, it's probably not the worst idea. 13 to go. I think we'll see almost everyone within that group come in over the next few laps. He's come in after another 10-lap stint, so he did 11 and 10. We'll have to finish with a 13 to finish it off. Also coming in, it looks like, is that Tyson Broad coming in? Yes, it is, and Kurt Stenberg also in.
Michael Whiting too, the winner of Split 2. Looks like Brady Baldwin's going to jump in for an early final stop here. Lots of cars going for this relatively early final pit stop. Of course, that's saying nothing of Thomas Freeman, who has been out there for nearly 3 laps now. Tom Freer out there for nearly 5. Looking to see what those two can do from the last 2 running positions on track. Meanwhile, Dylan Pereira versus Chris Coxhead. These two have been with each other for some time. Got a battle behind them as well of Jamie Dyke and Andre Youssef. Youssef starting to come back at Dyke a little bit after his wheel spin moment out of the final hairpin, but it seems like Dyke's been driving incredibly well here in the fishy 080.
And Youssef will probably bring it into the lane very, very soon. He's on his 15th lap in this stint of tyres, so probably at the point now where he's thinking they've had enough, time to give it away. Rayan Leonage has come out with a tiny little bit of traffic. That's Ben Morris has just moved aside for him. That's good sportsmanship there. Rayhan back in 25th position. That will be the only factor to think about for some of these drivers that decide when they want to come in. Oh, it's Jordan Ross, and is that Jake Maloney making contact there at pit entry?
Looks like it. At the very least, they came close to it. We'll have to take another look at that. It looks like they have, yeah. A big hit. Both of them coming on in, and Ross overshooting a little. Maloney close to cutting the inside, gets on the brakes, and solid contact there.
I think race control will have to have a little look at that one, because that's a little bit more to that, and I'm just also hearing that there's been more to what we saw from Ben Morris and Rayan Leonage as well, because that wasn't some sportsmanship. There was actually a little bit of contact potentially in that overtake.
Okay. Well, we'll have to keep an eye out for a replay of that potentially to see if there is indeed more to that story.
Oh, okay. There is more to the story.
Okay. Let us open the book and
watch the
reread the chapter.
Watch the pit exit here. Leonage comes out, and then
oh my god,
Morris runs wide and makes contact with Leonage. So that's why Leonage has dropped back a little bit from where I thought he was going to come out.
Oh no. Oh, that's such a shame. All gone
Jordan
wrong
Ross
there.
ahead, Jake Maloney behind. So Leonage has dropped 2 to 3 positions.
Wow.
Pit lane drive-through penalty, Ben Morris.
Okay, so that is the story as it was writ, and yeah, Rayan Leonage now potentially with a bit of damage. This is Ben Morris's view of it. Leonage coming out on the left side of the screen. Morris gets in, and he just runs deep. Just runs deep, and Leonage, well, he had every right to re-enter the racetrack there, but it's just an unfortunate coming together.
Trey White, Hobson, O'Shea in the pits. Also in Paul Young, Lachlan Cagle, David Kirby and Joe Mahoney in. So all of those drivers now in to serve their second stop. Leader of those that have pitted, Zach Rattray White, now leading the race on corrected order from the second pit stop. Leonage has got pace though.
Yeah, he certainly has. So evidently didn't gather all that much damage from the contact with Ben Morris. So let's see what he can do in the final 11 laps of the race. A safety car, and you never know. He could certainly get right back up there.
You really scared me the way you said that. I was like,
dear.
oh no.
Oh no, I tried to say it calmly.
Here comes
Jake
Maloney.
Yeah. Ooh, gets up the inside of O'Reilly and hits him wide there. O'Reilly was going for the apex. I don't think he was quite aware that Maloney was as aggressively running in there like he was.
Leaders are in.
Here we
So
go.
Rudd, Scott, and Down all in. So Madison Down 11 laps. Rudd and Scott 12 laps. 11 laps to go. It'll be 10 to go when they cross the line. So they are all on a different strategy. Ewan Baker, no surprise, he's going to continue on. He will go as long as he can, I feel. Probably another 2 laps, and then he'll come in. He'll only have to do 8 on a set of tyres at the end. He can push as hard as he likes.
Yeah. Brilliant strategy idea from Ewan Baker, as Myers will come in as well. And that will be his 3rd visit to pit lane in this race. One of them, of course, for a penalty. So he's going to fall outside the top 10 here. This is the top 10 right now. Leonage and Maloney in 9th and 10th. Oh, and hello.
Down's come out right with Rattray White, and Rattray White's got the advantage. Only just.
Yeah. Interesting there. It looks like Rattray White 2 seconds quicker from pit lane to pit exit, 1 second quicker on the stop. So don't know exactly what that means for Madison Down, but he does have slightly fresher tyres by only 1 lap, but it might be enough here for the 3-time champion. They almost come together in the braking zone. Rattray White, I think, taking a few liberties with his defence there. Down's going to get on the power, up into 3rd, up into 4th, but there's nothing he can do to get past Rattray White there. Meanwhile, Maloney making up the place on Rayan Leonage up into 9th place. Down keeps trying here on Zach Rattray White, but there's nothing he can do.
No further action for the contact between Maloney and O'Reilly. We saw at turn 6, that little side-by-side door-to-door contact, so no further action in that one. But yeah, Rayan Leonage has probably already taken the best out of the tyres, and my prediction on Ewan Baker is completely wrong. He's driven into the pits now. Everyone has done their second pit stop once Baker serves his now. Tom Frere's retired from the race too. He's had enough. He's done.
Yeah, that happened about 6 minutes ago, unfortunately for Tom Frere. That's such a shame. He was one of the top drivers in this round. Had a lot more that he could have given us, but unfortunately that's going to be it for him, as Down again trying up the inside of Zach Rattray White and gets through at turn 2 as Bo Albert setting the fastest lap of the race.
He was about 0.4 of a lap quicker than Brenton Hobson in 5th, so to try and hunt him down. Both on the same tyre strategy, but Hobbo currently in 5th. Bo Albert will need to redeem that, get the overtake done.
Alright, so now everyone's completed their stops. And we have a 9-lap run to the end as Rattray White's not willing to let Madison Down go here. That was a very aggressive dive. Yeah, this is a fantastic fight. And Down's just going to chop the nose off on the way into turn 7. And I love watching these two fighting. Two drivers at the top of their game here. Rattray White, him and the rest of the Vermilion Esports crew, I think it's been a really good time for all of them to come together with the support that they've got. It's obviously a little mistake there for Rattray White, but still, managing to hold on to a top 4. I wouldn't have expected Rattray White to have been there 12 months ago.
Well, he's had great form in the NZ GT3 National Championships we've been broadcasting on Saturday nights. He's been very, very competitive in that. He's been very, very competitive in the dirt stuff as well, which has surprised us, Reese. He's been very, very good as an all-rounder this year.
Yeah, seems like he's becoming one of those super versatile drivers that you see at the top in just about every category. Leonage in a little bit of trouble though. Jake O'Reilly trying to finalise a move into turn 1 here. Blake Warboy's right with them, but Leonage will hold strong at least through the first turn. Immediately defensive into turn 2. It's exactly what you want to do when you're on a defensive drive, and Warboy says, okay mate, I'm going to try and go for the position here. Oh, O'Reilly a little bit too much curb there. I think he'll have to serve a slowdown from that. Or will he? I don't think so.
I don't think there is a slowdown, and
just got away with it.
Yeah, got away with it. Just a little bit out of control. We talked in race 1 about the incident limit and potentially being an issue. Our first driver has hit that incident limit. It was Thomas Freeman. His first night in the series as a privateer has not gone to plan at all, being an absolute shocker, and he'll be looking forward to heading to Winton next round, getting away from Spanning.
Yeah, indeed. It's been a tough one for Thomas Freeman. Qualified 26th for race 1, and unfortunately just hasn't been able to get away from trouble. Speaking of trouble, Ewan Baker might be in some here as he tries to get past Dylan O'Shea. Great run around the outside of turn 8 and gets it done coming into Angel Nieto. Beautiful move.
Remember that Baker is on the freshest tyres in the entire field, so he's got a little bit more in the car than Dylan O'Shea. And also remember, Dylan O'Shea passed half the field in race 1 and then had to serve a drive-through. It's passed half the field again, up 16 positions. Not the biggest mover in the field though tonight in this race. Chris Coxhead up 17 positions so far.
Yeah, and Coxhead might like to make it 18. He's up behind Kurt Stenberg and looking to make some moves. He's got 1 lap fresher tyres than Stenny as well. Both of these guys have been in and around the sim community for around about the same length of time, and they'll have raced against each other many a time. They'll know exactly where to push and where to back off. Looking forward to seeing how this fight turns out.
Contact to cause the incident limit for Thomas Freeman. So just pick that up from the race control sheet. Sid Speed replay will show there's been contact between Freeman and Latter while they've been stuck in behind Lachlan Capel, and Latter just a little bit of contact into the rear splitter, and that's enough to make that incident limit black flag penalty come active for Thomas Freeman. You won't be happy with that one.
Certainly not. At the very least, he'll be on the phone to race control saying,
they
"Hey,
are
can
watching
you
it
at least
now.
take a look at this?" Yeah. Okay, they do be looking. 7 laps to go, coming up to 6 now as James Scott crosses the line for the 28th time. And the pace is still great for the leaders here. Madison Down is faster than the both of them, but he's just got way too much of a gap to make up here. Unless there's a simultaneous engine explosion for both of the Lobs esports cars, I think this is our top 3 decided.
Yeah, I think it's looking like it. Actually, Rattray White's pace has dropped off the cliff, so that fighting with he and Madison down. I think he's burnt the tyres up. Let's look at Brenton Hobson, how quickly he's closed up. Last lap by was 1 full second quicker.
Yeah, it's interesting to see because both Rattray White and Hobson are on the same tyre life here. Same strategy, yeah. They both pitted 5 laps ago. That just goes to show you how easy it is to overheat the tyres and fall off in terms of pace. Hobson just been minding his own business while Rattray White was involved with Madison down. And now this could pay off for him with a potential top 4.
For a chance that Hobbo could get a top 4 in this race. He's looking very, very strong. How much more grip he appears to have, and Rattray White really pushing the limits of the track as well. He's just taking those 1Xs every single opportunity he gets at the moment.
Indeed, trying to use up those incidents, but don't push too hard, otherwise you'll likely get a penalty of some kind before the end of the race. So Hobson not making much of an inroads onto Rattray White coming through Lorenzo, but there's still plenty of time left in the race. Can't count out Bo Albert either. He's a bit in the distance compared to these two, but he is looking just as quick as the both of them.
Actually looking quick as well.
About matching them. Yeah, Coxhead still behind Stenberg for the time being, but yeah, his last lap was about 1.5 tenths quicker than Stenny's. How much quicker will it be this time round? Stenny setting a 41.6, Chris Coxhead a 41.6. So I think they've been matched pretty well at the moment. But we know how much of a good defensive driver Stenny is. Anytime he's at the front of a battle, you just know it's going to take the world being moved for the drivers behind to get a move done on him.
Getting moves done. There's one.
Oh, hello.
Jamie Dyke around the outside. Top 20 for him at the moment. And coming through split 2 to get a top 20 is always a great result. Michael Whiting in 19th, Jamie Dyke in 20th, and Jay Brazier in 28th. So those are the guys that were in split 2 that got the promotion tonight. Must say that the change from 1 driver to 3 drivers from split 2 to split 1 has been very, very well received, and I think it's been one of the coolest additions for this year.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it gives you a lot more to talk about in relation to the split 2, split 1 promotion. There's a lot more to race for in split 2 as well, increasing the battles for the lead in that category. Well, keeping an eye on Hobson and Rattray White here coming towards the end. We have 4 laps remaining, and time is running out for Hobbo to make the move on Rattray White. Seems like Zach has backed off a little bit and gotten some grip back in his tyres, because he's still a tenth slower than Hobson on the last lap, but it's definitely better than what he was dealing with a couple of laps ago.
Now, because I'm a stats nerd, Reese, I've just gone back through and looked at the all-time stats to see when Brenton Hobson last got a top 5. I'll have a guess.
I'd say it's been a year.
Road America 2022, he finished 4th. So,
okay.
End of the 2022 season, he finished in 4th. Didn't get a top 5 at all in 2023. He's now looking to take 4th position away, and it's done. Or is it?
Oh,
no, he's
no, it
overcooked
isn't.
it.
Way too deep, and Zach Rattray White will come back at him on the exit with a brilliant straight line run. And I'm wondering, Hobson would have used up a lot in his tyres trying to make that maneuver. He locked up as well. Those tyres will be overheated, so that might be his last opportunity gone to try and get into 4th.
Potentially the other part of that, though, is that Rattray White has used his tyres very aggressively, so he's probably going to have very, very little left come the end of the race. Look at that track temp, though. It's dropping and dropping fairly quickly now. It's down to 37.
Yeah, pretty intense drop off there. Yeah, it's just coming up to 5:51 p.m. in sim time, which it certainly doesn't look like 6 p.m. Still looks like 3 p.m. from where I'm sitting, but I suppose that's a consequence of living in a state that doesn't do daylight savings. Hobson still on it here. Seems he's recovered the grip very quickly.
Oh, have a look at this.
Oh.
Coxhead side by side here with Stenberg. Able to get it done.
Yeah, briefly. It looked like he might have had a good run out on Stenny out of the hairpin, but it ultimately came to nothing coming into turn one.
This is big. This is big. Look at this. We've got a penalty that's just come through here. Jake Maloney has been given a 5-second penalty for blocking Jordan Ross at the pit entry.
Yeah, because I thought that there was something up there. Because
It felt a bit strange, didn't it?
Yeah, because Maloney, I saw him run a little bit over the white line on the way into the pits, as Coxhead will try again here on Stenberg at turn 6, and it's probably going to work. Well, they both light up the rears, but Coxhead more than Stenberg. Stenny will keep the position still. But yeah, Maloney apparently got a slowdown on the way in to the pit lane, and he was trying to serve that, but ultimately I think had no choice but to block the 143 of Jordan Ross. But still, an interesting sequence of events and an interesting decision there.
Probably the right one, though, because, I mean, when we see a driver get a slowdown on the racetrack, they're not allowed to serve the slowdown on the racing line.
Yeah,
They have to do it safely and ensure that that they're not impeding and blocking and things like that. This is the view of that same incident on board with Jordan Ross. So you see, cuts
Maloney
the
over
line,
the white line. Yep.
trying to serve the slowdown before the line, and then causes an incident with Jordan Ross.
Yeah. So if you're Maloney, then what else can you do? Because you can't skip serving the slowdown. You'll get a 40-second penalty for that. But if you're Jordan Ross, you're not expecting Maloney to slow down like that, and you don't really have the space to take avoiding action. So I suppose there'll be a lot of chatter over that between the parties involved. Regardless, keep our eyes peeled with 2 laps to go, coming up to 1 lap to go. Leaders are almost into the final few corners.
Look at who's got back together.
Plenty of fighting left to come here. Oh, yeah, Jordan Ross and Jake Maloney. Oh, dear.
It always
Oh,
happens
dear
in
me.
this series, doesn't it? It always happens in this series. Drivers that have been involved in incidents somehow magically make themselves back intertwined in a battle again.
Yeah, who's going to win the on-track battle? Because Maloney's got a bit to think about here. Currently sitting in 8th position, and 5 seconds would put him in 11th behind Leonage and O'Reilly. And there's not much time for him to make up much of that time, because the leaders have taken the white flag. James Scott and Dylan Rudd, I mean, they have been unstoppable in this 4th round of V8 SCOPS. They've just looked supremely in control the whole way through, and as drama-free as you like, so much so that we barely looked at them at all on this broadcast.
Probably the only 2 drivers with clean cars as well.
Yeah.
They've had no scratches on their cars. They've had no one alongside them for the entire race. Both drivers have driven very, very well, very clean, kept it composed. But speaking of composed, this is the opposite. Have a look at this battle here, race.
Well, here
Hobson's
we
got
go.
a run.
He has indeed. Zach Rattray White will have to try and find something else here. Hobson not close enough to get the move done, but Rattray White squirms on the exit. Hobbo squirms a little bit more, though. I think that's going to be the end of it, unless Rattray White makes a mistake coming out of turn 11 and 12. Hobson's going to have to try and build this. He needs to make the move at the hairpin, I think, if he wants any chance of getting into 4th. Still a top 5 would be a great run for him. But 1 corner to go for James Scott at the front of the field. And, I mean, what more can you say about this duo? Lobs Esports coming to V8 SCOPS, ready to fight for wins, and they've won every fight. James Scott takes the checkered flag and will be the round winner of the 4th round of V8 SCOPS for 2024. Madison Down gets onto the podium with a little bit of a technical issue across the line, and Rattray White will hold off Hobson for 4th.
So Hobbo gets a top 5 in the end. She'll be very, very happy with his best result since 2022. Jordan Ross, Jake Maloney, Blake Warboys across the line. Rayhan Leonage, you'll be disappointed with the result in the end. He'll finish 9th after the penalty for Maloney. Maloney will drop, as you said, back to position number 11. Battle is one of the few that are still going on. There's still battles actually all the way back to the back of the field. This is Broad, Machado, Young, Dyke. Crossing the line 21st through to 24th. David Kirby, has he got a run here on Brady Baldwin out of the final corner?
They're bumper to bumper coming across the line or near enough, but Baldwin will win that battle. Here's Kenneth Latter and Lachlan Capel, two cars that have suffered plenty of issues throughout this race, and two of the last 3 finishes of the race. Latter will ultimately get it here over Lockie, and Ben Morris, with 3 visits to pit lane, one of them being a penalty, is going to be the last driver to take the checkered flag here at the Circuito de Jerez. It's a lovely looking podium there at this circuit, and it's going to be taken up by James Scott, Dylan Rudd, and Madison Down. Brilliant drives from the Lobs Esports duo. Trans-Tasman Racing as well up there, with Down making a really good run of it from 7th spot. Zach Rattray White will finish in 4th, just ahead of Brenton Hobson. Great battling towards the end. Albert had a pretty lonely second half of the race, but he'll get a 6th place for his troubles. Jordan Ross will finish in 7th place. Maloney crosses the line in 8th, but will ultimately be classified 11th. Blake Warboys and Rehan Leonage round out the top 10.
Yeah, from there we go back to Jake O'Reilly, who will get a position promotion into the top 10 with that penalty for Jake Maloney, but then back to Adam Briggs, Ewan Baker, then Dylan O'Shea in 14th. Biggest mover in the end. No, he wasn't, because Kurt Stenberg and Chris Coxhead. Coxhead was the biggest mover in the end. 17 positions up, 16 for O'Shea. With Dylan Pereira in 17th position. Andre Youssef next alongside Michael Whiting. And Brady Myers, a night to forget for him. He is in position number 20.
21st place, Tyson Broad up 5 spots, with Jamie Machado having really poor second race there, finishing 7 spots down from where he started. Young will make up 4, with Jamie Dyke finishing in 24th place ahead of Brady Baldwin and David Kirby. Joe Mahoney will finish in 27th place. He was languishing a little bit outside the top 20 tonight. Brazier will get a finish on record for this round. He'll go home 28th in race 2. Kenneth Latter finishes where he started in 29th place with a penalty along the way. Lachlan Capel will round out the top 30. Ben Morris, the last driver to take the checkered flag. Thomas Freeman retiring from the race. Same for Tom Freer, Damian Johnston, with William Brown suffering technical issues. Could not make it to the finish. Only 2 laps in, his night was over. So that's going to conclude the racing portion of the night, but we still have the talky portion of the night. We bring in James Scott now for his post-race interview. Congratulations, James. Pole position and 2 wins on the board. Fastest lap in both, and leading every lap too. Couldn't have gone better.
Yeah, exactly right. Couldn't have asked for much of a better night, to be honest. I was really struggling, especially in qualifying. In the lead up to this race, but got a really good lap down, which obviously really had to pass here. So I knew that if I could just get off the line, I should be in for a pretty good night. But yeah, the car was on rails.
Yeah, certainly looked it. The track temperature obviously played a big part in this, and the amount of dust on the track at the start when the server whirled up to speed. So you guys must have been thinking a lot about that in the lead up to qualifying.
Yeah, we were. There was, like you said, a lot of dust on the track. But I think after, the practice and the first group in qualifying, the track was pretty decent. So there was plenty of grip out there. It was sort of the worst of it had passed by then.
Yeah, well, regardless, that's going to be your championship lead extended coming into round 5 at Winton Motor Raceway. Bit of a different track to this one, decidedly less space to negotiate. So I'm sure that you and Dylan and the rest of the crew at Lobs Esports will be preparing well for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Heaps different to where we raced tonight. This one's sort of, MotoGP sort of style, sort of a bit like Phillip Island. But yeah, Winton is a long way from that. So, I'm sure we'll come together and get something sorted out. I know the guys have been working really hard and really well together. All of us and all the guys that don't get the chance to race, but can show up when they got some time and help out with the setup. It's really appreciated, and yeah, the team's just going from strength to strength, and it's really good to see.
Yeah, Lobs Esports well and truly on top at the moment. Are there any sponsor shout outs you want to give before we let you go, James?
Yeah, definitely. Firstly, Speed Cafe. It's really good to have them on board. Couldn't do without them. Ryko Performance. Head over there and grab some setups and review your data on there. Hybrid Racing Simulations. Really good to have those guys on board. And Dylan for getting a 1-2 for Lobs, and the other podium, Zach and Madison, and you guys for the broadcast and the series admin people.
James Scott taking the white and green Lobs Esports car to the win in both races tonight. Second in both races was the black and green Lobs Esports 990 of Dylan Rudd, who's with us now. Congratulations, Dylan. Double podium, double P2, solid haul of championship points.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, not a bad night. So coming in P2 both races, which is good.
Yeah, you were third in the championship coming into this round, but with the unfortunate goings-on for Jake Maloney, very likely that you'll make your way back into second place by the time we come to next round at Winton, so still very much on.
Yeah. It's very cool, so yeah.
Do you think that you'll have anything for James at Winton? Because it definitely looked like he had the advantage on pace in regards to the team. Do you have anything special lined up for next round?
I'm not sure. James is very fast everywhere, so yeah, it's good to look at his data and see what he's doing and learn off him. But yeah, I'm sure he'll be fast. I'll see what I can do in testing, and yeah, hopefully I'm not too far off.
All right, well, brilliant job there, Dylan. Second for the round. Anyone you'd like to thank for it?
Yeah, all the guys at Lobs Esports, so been very helpful learning off all the guys this year. And then our sponsors are Speed Cafe, Ryko Performance, and HRS Simulations.
Dylan Rudd with a fantastic run to second for the round, and third place in points for the round was Zach Rattray Wright with a third and a fourth on the board. Zach, you're one of the drivers that has moved up to the Vermilion Esports team, and you guys looked ready to fight here.
Yeah, how good is it? Far up.
Yeah, fantastic job indeed. I guess we can talk about your race one first. You were certainly involved in many fights throughout that sprint.
Yeah, it was just trying to keep the tires under here because it's based off the Pro Series that wasn't too long ago. We were running stints that were pretty much just as long as that sprint race, so we knew what to expect, but with temps that are a little cooler, the pace is a little higher, and everyone's got under their setup now, so yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it did seem like the Vermilion Esports cars were very good in the acceleration zones. Talking about strategy, did you find you were having to change your strategy on the fly because you were really tightly involved with Madison Down and Brenton Hobson at various points during that race?
I'm always changing the strategy on the fly just to work around where everyone is and how much fuel they put in. And my race kind of technically wasn't with Mads. I was very short on fuel at the end. I only had half a litre at the line, so I was kind of battling Rayhan, and then heard that he had a bit of a drama with someone else, so kind of relieved a little bit of pressure, but I thought I'd try and have a crack at Mads, but he's pretty quick.
Indeed, but that's not to say that you aren't pretty quick here, Zach. Do you think that you'll be able to continue this form at Winton?
Well, I'll try. Yeah, we'll see. Hasn't been the best place to me so far, I don't think so. but we'll see. We've got a good setup guide now, so we should be pretty good.
Absolutely. Well, the floor is yours, Zach. Third for the round. Anyone you'd like to thank for getting you there?
We got a long list of sponsors, so I'll just rattle them off. Vermilion Motorsports, doing okay. Verb Designs, Supernova Motorsports, Hymo Setups, and Vermilion X Coaching. So fire them up.
Absolutely. Zach Rattray White feeling very fired up after a podium here at the fourth round of V8SCOPS at the Circuito de Jerez. Of course, Jay, we go to Winton for the next round of the championship. That'll be taking place in a few weeks' time. Looking forward to it, coming back to Australia.
Yeah, I guess, home track, isn't it, with how close it is. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Winton always provides some very, very interesting racing. Some drivers love it. Some drivers hate it. And I think that's what makes the track so special. It's not the easiest place to get around, which makes it a very, very interesting challenge.
Indeed it does. Mark that date down in your calendar. We will have supports on the Friday night as well. The GTC and the V8s will be making their way around that place for what's sure to be a weekend of frenetic racing at Winton. But here at Circuito de Jerez, it was James Scott who took top honours. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. And to all of you, no matter what platform you come from, we hope that you enjoyed the show here tonight. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Kick, no matter where you are. We wish you all the best. Big thanks to our series partners, including Proven Energy on the safety car. And also big thanks to the crew at Aussie Online Gaming for continuing to run a tight ship here in V8SCOPS in 2024. I'm Reese Gardner. Jay Kennedy was alongside me in the comms box here on SimSpeed TV. We'll see you next time.